I'm gonna crash out. No, just kidding. I'm gonna jump right into it. We're gonna blast off, and I'm gonna give you the full update because I know there's folks here that are like, I don't fucking know what happened. I have no idea what's going on, and I'm here for you. I'm your friend. I'm your homie. My job is to help you navigate the craziness that is Blue Sky. So we are going to blast off and jump right into it. For those of you that predicted, don't worry. I'm going to wait until I cash out your prediction. Who knows? The choice of my game might change midstream. No, it's not. There's a specific game I want to play. But stick around, see if you win good girl points. Or see if you're a bad girl. You're a bad, bad little girl. Or boy. Or they, them. I don't know. Anyway. I'm going to turn this down a little bit more. I want to make sure it's not too loud. Okay. Let's log in. So, I'm not going to catch up on everything Blue Sky and Blue Sky Crash Out, but here's what you need to know, chat. So, there was this original conversation that happened with Jay. This was, oh my God, this was only October 1st. That's crazy. So this is the Jay October Crash Out saga. So, originally there's this conversation, I talked about this a little bit earlier, where Jerry Chen says Blue Sky user burst in a Waffle House. Oh, so you hate pancakes. And Jay says, too real. We're going to try to fix this. Social media doesn't have to be this way. Jay is the CEO of Blue Sky. Our fellow here, Lucas, says, have y'all banned Jesse Single yet? Jesse Single is a well-known journalist that is sort of like, I would consider him sort of like a very popular in the kind of neoliberal, liberal, left of center crowd. Very, very emphasis on center in that left of center. Has published a lot of work essentially arguing for critical and skeptical thinking around, a medically sound practice of helping trans teens access puberty blockers, start the journey of gender transitioning. He's published some stuff that, in my opinion, is not really deserves the journalistic respect that people give to him around the topic of trans youth. And he has played this role of sort of like the devil's advocate around trans issues, sort of segueing into a more respectable position for major institutions like the New York Times to push the idea that, transitioning for trans youth is dangerous or bad. He sort of carried weight for like the anti-trans movement up to and including, doing a podcast with a TERF. So Jesse Single, obviously someone that people really don't want on Blue Sky. Blue Sky has a user base that is, I would say at the center of Blue Sky's growth has been its trans user base. A lot of transgender women use Blue Sky, and it was where a lot of trans individuals moved to. And when Jesse Single kind of decided to force the issue around whether he could be on Blue Sky or not in December 2024, this caused a massive tension and clusterfuck because Blue Sky ultimately decided not to ban him. And it's been an issue for Blue Sky since. So that is the Jesse Single saga in a nutshell. That is like the crashiest of crash courses, which is pretty fitting for a crash out newstuber stream. So I'm not the one crashing out, to be clear. So yeah. So Lucas says, have y'all banned Jesse Single yet? Jay says waffles. Also, I completely forgot. I want to talk about my Twitch ban, but I just want to jump into the Blue Sky stuff right away. It was fresh in my mind. So we'll talk about my ban after all this. Very awkward. I normally would have started with my ban, but I'm just locked in on this one. So, have y'all banned Jesse Single yet? Jay says, in relation to the Waffles Pancakes tweet, basically reference to an age-old classic Twitter tweet, where someone's like, on this app, people say like, I like pancakes, oh, so you hate waffles, like stuff like that. Or, oh, I like pancakes, oh, so you say waffles. I forget the exact thing. But it's basically about waffles and pancakes. It's the idea of that, like, if you say you like one thing, then people put words in your mouth. And so this is sort of what Jay is trying to hint at, which is essentially she's saying, like, social media doesn't have to be that bad, after quote tweeting like, oh, so you hate pancakes thing. And referencing the idea of Blue Sky as if being a more hysterical kind of social media app, social media landscape. And so someone brings up, hey, so have you banned Jessie Single? And she's right away dismissive of it. She's making fun of it. This continues, kind of her entire team, or different parts of the Blue Sky team, I should say, including the CTO, start coming to her side. And she kind of keeps instigating. Like, she posts this Waffles post on the next day. Amazing breakfast this morning. I love waffles. Then next up, Jessie Single hops back on a Blue Sky and is kind of like, oh, I get it. So he says, there are these waffles places in Berlin that in a nice touch will write your name in chocolate sauce. This was a good effort. Lebanese, I think, staff working in Germany trying to understand an American guy's name. I love this world. Strawberries, Nutella, whipped cream. If you know, you know. So obviously a little bit of him kind of saying like, yeah, I fuck with you, Jay. Which obviously upset a lot of people. Next up, Jay continues. So on October 3rd, she comes back to the issue and says, harassing the mods into banning someone has never worked, and harassing people in general has never changed their mind. Yet it's behavior that persists across social media anyways, with the negative consequences for civil discourse in society. Human nature is a contributing factor, but systems that reward outrage only make the problem worse. We're system architects at core. We built a decentralized network so you could run your own moderation, but beyond that, our upcoming Healthy Discourse project is taking some swings at the interaction model that drives these dynamics on Blue Sky. Excited to start seeing in action. So obviously this is seen as continuing to kind of poke the bear on this issue, not really engaging with it in a serious way. I think, do people on Blue Sky take things too far? I mean, everyone here remembers the Pippa saga. There are people on Blue Sky who literally, like, there is like a Blue Sky list that's like supporters of the Nazi Fox girl, talking about someone calling Kirsche a Nazi. And then like she's like, I don't think she's on the list because I don't think she's on Blue Sky, but it's like a bunch of people that are like Kirsche fans, and then it's me. And someone was like, why is Anna on the list? She wrote the articles about Kirsche. And they're like, because the Pippa article. They're like, oh yeah, no, she's shit. Like, don't get me wrong, Blue Sky does take things too far. There's a reason why I've called Blue Sky Blue Twitter, right? Because in my opinion, it is just Twitter but libbed up. Like, that's it. But unfortunately, this is a really good example of, how should I put this? Let me put it this way. Facing a lot of negativity online can feel like being attacked, but sometimes that negativity comes from a good place, sometimes it comes from a bad place, and sometimes that negativity starts from a good place and it ends in a terrible place. So I would say, I referenced that Pippa article, right? There's a lot of criticism that came from a good place, and then it went down a crazy ass place because, people were goading or antagonizing me or just looking to shoot the messenger on the issues of like the right wing and B-tubing. Now, when it comes to this issue, a lot of people bugged Blue Sky's mods and Jay and Blue Sky itself, like the Blue Sky team, because they really felt like they weren't listened to and they weren't respected on the Jessie Single issue, and they felt like this topic was basically ignored and enabled by the team, which felt very offensive, and they felt like they weren't really treated with respect. They felt like they were kind of ignored. So in an instance like that, in a platform that does struggle with transparency, I mean, literally the whole entire non-con situation on Blue Sky is being dealt with by Blue Sky, like calling up posters for one-on-one calls. Like, this is a company, this is a team that really struggles with how to communicate. Of course, people are going to feel pressure to continue to bring it up. It's like being in a relationship where like a problem has never been solved. Like, it needs to be figured out and dealt with. So obviously, I think this is already very bad faith, because like what she's basically saying is like, you're harassing us over Jessie Single. It's like, well, a significant amount of people don't want him on the platform. So at some point you have to consider like seriously like what that means about your platform. So this obviously further instigate things. One person replies to her original post, yeah, but as a customer threatening to cancel their service usually gets a couple things accomplished. Come on, Jay, shame on you. And this is where things start to sour. Are you paying us? Where? So she's kind of acting with a bit of disdain. It's very disrespectful. It continues with Haley, who is a very good member of the Blue Sky team, is someone that like is often being pulled into this stuff when she's just simply trying her best to do her job, but I do have some disagreement about her opinion on Blue Sky, especially because other parts of the team are boosting this idea. She quote repost, she screenshot someone saying, "We're your product. Without us, Blue Sky is just code sitting on a server," to which she says, "No, you are not our product. Our product is the code that we write and distribute for others to use, for others to take and build their communities. Making the users the product is exactly the model that never works and continues to never work." And I think this animating principle, I don't think it's just Haley that feels this way. I think this is kind of the internal messaging that Blue Sky is coming up with to kind of explain away this issue. But I want to remind you guys, like, they put these goddamn things all over Boston. Finally, social media that's billionaire proof. Blue Sky. Like, they actively advertise themselves as being a Twitter alternative. Like, that's what the implication is here. Leave Twitter, come hang out with us. So Blue Sky on some level is aware what their product actually is. It's not just the code. No one writes about Blue Sky all the time because they think the code is based in Epic. Like, people are interested in AT Protocol, the animating sort of underlying infrastructure of Blue Sky, which we will talk about in a second. But no one's been writing article after article about Blue Sky because they thought the code was neat. Everyone understands, implicitly, that the main way Blue Sky is going to make money is having this main centralized server or a decentralized social media network with a main centralized server. Crown jewel server is what I've been calling it. Everyone understands that's really key to how Blue Sky is going to function, and getting advertisers into Blue Sky, monetizing Blue Sky options, is going to rely heavily on the idea that there is a centralized platform that people can go to advertise their business. That's it. That's really core to Blue Sky. That is really core to monetizing Blue Sky. So I'm pointing this out because, I don't necessarily want to say, like, oh my God, like, Haley is a problem, because she's not. Like, she's responding to what her boss is doing. But I think that this is a really core and fundamental internal look at how Blue Sky sees itself, because Blue Sky doesn't really seem to understand what its product is. They don't even seem to understand what its users want. Like, Jay's response has been very unpopular. I will go to Blue Sky over here, the Blue Sky subreddit, and I see literally over here, cool, so what's the next website? This one is going fascist. Musk level nastiness right there. We haven't even talked about the poster strike tweet or post, sorry. Jalon, J plus Elon, is showing us the future of Blue Sky isn't good under her leadership. I'm very disappointed with her immaturity. This upvote has 3.5, I mean, this post has 3.5k upvotes on Reddit. And I know, like, people in here are gonna be like, Reddit, but, you know, green text Reddit. But like, I'll even do it for you guys right now. Like, I'll even show, because I know you guys too well. I know many of you are gonna come in here and you're gonna be like Reddit, and I get it. I know it's Reddit. Reddit's a little cringe, but it does matter because Reddit matters. It does. It's an accurate assessment of how people that use Blue Sky off Blue Sky feel. That's not just the bubble of Blue Sky itself. Another question here. Another example. What the fuck is going on with the CEO? 1.7k upvotes on that one, folks. 1.7k. People think this whole situation is very stupid. It's constantly coming up. What's going on with the CEO? It's constantly coming up. We're going to talk about the low tax ex-wife one, but not quite yet. So, this is when things really start to go off the rails for Jay. And so, let me connect with chat really quickly. Because I know this shit is high-key crazy. Why does it matter? If it's federated as the proponents for the shit app says, can't you just move to another PDS? Okay, it does matter, though, because what needs to be understood is that it's not a situation where Blue Sky Social is like 10% of the network. everyone's on Blue Sky Social, right? Everyone keeps on saying you can move to a PDS, you can move to a PDS, you can move to a PDS. And I was encouraging, God, who was it again? Because I was talking to her about it really briefly. Liz Fong Jones was interested in the idea of spinning up a service to very quickly and easily get your own PDS up. We'll see how that plays out. But what people need to understand is when it comes to Blue Sky in the PDS system, it is not the Fediverse. There is a core, fundamental, central server that most people are on. Even after all this is done, most people are still going to be on Blue Sky Social de facto, because your average person actually doesn't really care about any of this that much. They're exposed to it, but they just want to hang out with their friends and post art or look at art or like read or whatever. So a lot of people are not going to move off of Blue Sky Social de facto. This is usually what happens. Like every time that Twitter has gotten cleaved off and people have moved over to the Fediverse or whatever, it's always a proportional percentage. So what happens with the PDS system is that, and I think this is why Jay is like, go ahead, go make your own server. At the end of the day, most people are on Blue Sky Social. Blue Sky Social can decide simply to not show posts from a specific PDS or specific users on a specific PDS. So people on Blue Sky Social on that app will not be able to see things. Now you could say, well, you could use an app in order to view things that you won't be able to on the Blue Sky app. Still, in the same case, most people are using Blue Sky Social, the Blue Sky app. Most people are not interested in moving off of Blue Sky Social. This is a major problem because it means de facto moderation decisions from the Blue Sky team and the way that Jay thinks about her user base and her team thinks about her user base decides a lot. Blue Sky is always going to have Blue Sky Social at the center. That's the way it works. If you don't want a system like that, go to the Fediverse. Now, a lot of us are not on the Fediverse because we understand the draws of it are really bad for content creators, for artists, for anyone who is not like, I don't know, like just interested in hanging out with their friends. And, you know, to the Fediverse's credit, it's a very good place to hang out with your friends. But I gotta run a business, folks. Like I can't hang out in the place where like maybe like the people aren't there. You know what I mean? This is why sex workers don't hang out in the Fediverse that much. Like because like that's not where the clients are. The clients are on Twitter. They're on Blue Sky. Like that's why they're there. You know. In fact, that's why a lot of sex workers didn't even move to Blue Sky because it's too small. They mostly get their clients from Twitter. Anyway, TLDR, it does matter because de facto Blue Sky Social is going to be the center of everything because people are fucking lazy and they don't want to move. And it's not even people are lazy. People are tired of moving from social media platform to social media platform. The idea of even just migrating from one PDS to another, for a lot of people, they're like, oh, whatever. Like, it's not part of the culture of Blue Sky. People just want, like, ease. They want accessibility, and they want to just vibe. And they'll look at this stuff, and they'll be like, I don't really look at non-con porn that much, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way people think. Oh, yes, owning your user base that you have proven once before they're willing to jump ship. Yeah, exactly right. It honestly feels like the internet hates us trans folk when we stand up for ourselves sometimes. I think people have internalized that trans women in particular are like whiny and hysterical. And I think that's sort of like why Jay is behaving the way that she is. Like, I think all of this only makes sense. A lot of people disagree with me, even though they're trans women. But I honestly think Jay's response here only makes sense if you think of her as facing a lot of negativity that she concluded is because trans women are whiny. Like, that's it. Harassing the mods into banning someone that never worked since when? Well, yeah, libs of TikTok is, like, not allowed on Blue Sky, which is another good example of, like, how, like, Jesse Single and libs of TikTok are two sides of the same coin. It's just one is particularly focused on only trans people. And in a way that's, like, complicated and sounds nice to libs. Libs of TikTok is obviously inflammatory and spreads misinformation in a way that Jesse Single doesn't seem quite obvious because he has a lot of defenders. No, I don't think I will, but it sucks to hear. And folks, later I was driving to the zoo. With our data user, I hate Jay so much, true, she's wrong. That's the most tone-deaf response from the given this kind of marketing. Haley posts is where I started to feel how I feel. They didn't want to run the site. Yeah, I think so too. Instead of going, I guess we doing circles now, they're like, no, we still only doing triangles, yeah. The waffling is crazy. We're not even to the thick of it yet. Comparing Jay to Elon is ridiculous, considering Elon is a full-on fascist while Jay is a mediocre liberal, though they're kind of both similarly toxic. I think the thing that needs to be understood is that it's not about the beliefs of the leadership. It's about the behavior of the leadership. That's always what matters most. It doesn't matter how woke someone is if they behave in an unwoke way. I used to work a job, right, where I had to defend covering Hogwarts Legacy, right? Now, I'm super fucking woke. But at the end of the day, people probably hated me at my job for being the trans woman that defended covering Hogwarts Legacy. Like, we needed to. We actually needed to from a monetary and traffic perspective. But, yeah, like, my behavior there was not very woke. And for some people, they might have considered that, like, very upsetting. And they had a right to. Like, that was not a decision in retrospect I was proud of defending. I think that needs to be understood here. If someone said, Anna, your behavior there makes you like a neoliberal, I would be like, well, I'm just doing my job. But also, like, a lot of bad shit happens from people just doing their job. So I think it's important to understand here that, like, is Jay literally Elon? No. Nah. But is her behavior reminding people of Elon in a way that upsets them? Yes. And that's a core difference and is where the animating principle comes. We'll talk about the idea of, like, Bluesky as a force that makes people become more and more extreme in a second, because that's something we do want to I do want to return to. It's tied up to the statistic that I posted earlier about the fact that on Bluesky, people tend to atomize into individual communities. I will go wherever the fat girl cock artists go. You go, Amina. I'll hit you up. We will have fat girl cock everywhere. Truth nuke. Do they still ban trans women or not? Yeah, you're right. The problem with Mastodon is that, like, servers that allow weird shit but not Nazis isn't very common, lol. And then most other servers block the ones they do. They have centralized power despite being theoretically decentralized. Yeah, it's not good for people who want to become influencers. Yeah. Fediverse stuff effectively crystallizes Twitter clicks. Fediverse works, but it's for a deliberate small community. Most people want that large-scale access to things. I like Fedi, you can get good exposure, but generally not for everyone. Yeah, exactly. Hi, Puns. Whiny. You're whiny. Are you whiny? Are you a whiny little brat? Whiny fun way. Even if a new PDS can be differently moderated, it seems like how Bluesky works means creators still end up losing customers either way. I'm going to read through the article that goes over the PDS system as well. Scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds. Bluesky should be an easy layup of an app. Only a tech bro brain CEO could fumble this. All this made me give up the idea of building any decent following on Twitter's platforms, since it's more headache than it's worth. Can't imagine doing this for a living. For a lot of people, they are looking at this situation. They're deciding, like, what the fuck do I do now? All right, so someone responded. I don't know why the PFP is not showing. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, maybe because of Black Sky. Yeah, part of Black Sky. This is also a good example of how, like, I think, like, Bluesky is not, like, fully functioning with this stuff yet. Like, it's not fully made to be, like, operate like a federated social media yet. Harassing the mods into banning someone has never worked. It has, in fact, changed the behavior. Social shame is the most powerful tool of social control. One way to tell if someone has a conscience or at least cares about their own abilities survival is if they respond. After all, fucking Disney caved to social pressure. Y'all think y'all are immune. Also, this is just an invitation for us to organize against y'all just like Disney. You know that, right? Also, we have the power here. The entire value of social apps are the people on them. We can leave and keep our accounts. When you ban us, you lose, but we win. You're backed in a corner, and you're smart enough to know it here, Jay. Companies that survive are the ones that say the customers are right, we goof mea culpa. Or the ones have infinite VC capital because they're backed by Musk or something. You do that, this place is a ghost town anyway. You have no choice but to apologize, or we'll organize a mass move to other apps that connect to each other, and it won't matter to us if you ban us, but it will destroy the value of Bluesky.app. So hubris and destruction versus humility and survival. Don't be stupid just because you don't like being yelled at. And Jay responded, you could try a poster strike. I hear that works. Now this is the moment when she kind of jumped the shark. And I think this combined with, I think Haley making it clear that Bluesky's out of touch with what user base thinks Bluesky is, which is de facto the most important thing because the user base controls how things operate in terms of content, combined with a Jay saying, you could try a poster strike. I hear that works. Like, this is just disrespectful. Okay? Like, this is just basically saying, like, this is just her flipping the bird. This is two sentences, one flipped bird each. Like, this is completely and utterly inappropriate. This is like someone who's also, like, very clearly this has been getting to them. Like, that's how someone like this responds. And then she posts this slop that's like Deck Act, decentralization, acceleration, which high key I think is her way of saying, like, I wanted you to do this all along. I actually mastermind this. This was not a crash out, which whatever. And then, it keeps going. Someone says pancakes today, waffles tomorrow, and she responds, this was all funded by Big Carbs. So she's still salty about it. That's from last night, 5:43 p.m. So she's trying to move on from it a little bit. She hasn't posted anything since, but obviously this whole entire situation has significantly upset people and made them feel really uncomfortable with using Bluesky. I will point to, swear to God, this is real, Low Tax's ex-wife chimed in after the you could try a poster strike. No, Low Tax famously ran something awful. Famously, his life kind of was not that great over time. Wait, why is my... There we go. How'd you guys disappear? Oh my God, there's a lot of you. What the fuck? Obviously, Jay being compared to Low Tax here is kind of a low blow because Low Tax was known a little bit to spill his spaghetti. And so we have over here, you could try a poster strike here that works. Charlotte and Oomphy says, please don't listen to people who tell you to stop doing this. You should definitely keep this up. There is this very cool guy named Richard Kianka, that's Low Tax, in fact, who won all spats of his users. And then we have a user come in and say, I was married to the guy and I read her post and had some weird body memory reaction. I was like, did he possess her? Why are we repeating history? Yes, she did, in fact. This is, in fact, this person was, in fact, married to Low Tax, had a kid with him. Crazy. You cannot walk back being like J-Tax, lived up Low Tax, Woke Tax. Woke Tax is in the building. I don't think actually Woke Tax is very accurate because she's not very woke. She's not been behaving very wokely, but something awful like Bluesky is something blue. I'm trying to make the material come out here. Violet, we'll just leave. Jay, bet. She really said just leave. Wow. Yeah, so I'm sitting there, I'm like, bet, okay. Like I'll use it, yeah. I'll use it less. Like if that's how you feel. So obviously pretty crazy for someone to be like, you are Low Tax right now. I want to talk a little bit about Bluesky stats. So I think it's really hard to fully understand why Jay is, after a year of this, crashed out. And I think looking at where Bluesky is stats-wise will explain a lot to folks. So let me get this together and we'll talk about some of the stats on Bluesky. So actually, before we go into the specifics of the stats, there was this really good Reddit post. I'm shocked this doesn't have more... I'm shocked this doesn't have more interest on Reddit because this is a really good look at literally the history of Bluesky itself. So if we look at the total users, active posters, active likers, blue, green, and yellow. Whoops. Here's what we get. We get a situation where there's this huge spike. A huge spike in total users, and we get that around initially some of the issues with Twitter being banned in Brazil, issues with X and AI, and then also the U.S. elections. But after with President Trump, but after that, we do start to see, after the Trump inauguration and stuff like that, we do start to see a dip happen where active likers and active posters starts to go down. It starts to drop pretty significantly. One thing that I personally think is the case is that Bluesky, a lot of Bluesky users are arguing that Bluesky does not have to, let me hear it for more accuracy. A lot of Bluesky users are arguing that Bluesky does not have to have a growth mindset in order to do well. And I agree. I think Bluesky can plateau, and that's fine. The problem, though, is that we are dealing with a leadership that obviously wants Bluesky to grow, and in fact needs Bluesky to grow. Because Bluesky growing and Bluesky showing that it has the capacity and resilience to continue to grow is going to draw more advertisers onto the platform, and it's going to open more business opportunities. It is very hard to secure funding for a social media platform that seems like it's just kind of at its own pace, not really doing much, and in fact kind of low-key declining. If this is what it looks like, where the users have jumped up, but there's a huge gap between people who have parked an account and people who are using an account. And you do, in fact, see that interest is kind of waning. Like, people are not really spending like time on Bluesky. That gap is crazy. Once you think of how many people have signed up for Bluesky versus how many people have decided to stick around, that user acquisition long term is in fact a major issue for Bluesky. It is in fact a major issue. If we look at stats on posts, likes, and follows, we're going to come back to this follow one. The follows one is really in the toilet compared to everything else. We're seeing a lot of likes, and we're seeing posts are kind of, it's stable. But people on Bluesky, they're not really like being exposed to new people on the platform as much. This is an issue because new people still are always joining Bluesky. So if there's less following while more people are joining, let's go up. Whoops. Let's go up versus down. What that suggests is that more people are continuing to join Bluesky, but they're not getting reach. They're not getting followed. Instead, Bluesky is cementing into a kind of pre-existing community that formed in from the beginning up to late 2024 with the presidential election into the inauguration of Donald Trump. That is particularly dangerous because Bluesky starts to get the reputation, as it's now earned, that there was a period to get in when the getting was good. And if you did not get in when the getting was good, the getting is not good right now. You're not getting as much exposure. Your account's not growing. Accounts really do struggle to grow on Bluesky. This is just interesting. I don't have too much to say about blocks, but this is really fascinating, where blocks have kind of declined. But they really were high at the start with the presidential elections. Everyone kind of got it out of their system to block each other. It's kind of like watching a bomb go off and all the nukes get flown around, and everyone's like, okay, we got it out of our system. We'll throw a couple nukes now and then, but we're good. Like, it's crazy. I'm gonna bring up my page because I think this is a really good animating principle. I'm going to bring up my statistics, excuse me. So, I'm ranked as one of the higher, influence members on Bluesky. This is almost a perfect 10. It means essentially that, let me find the stats here. It essentially means that, per the site, BlueFacts, what is this exactly? Popularity, discovers, and reach based on likes and reposts is both extremely high. It's almost a perfect 10. So I'm a Bluesky poster, like capital P. It's official. And I want to stress a few things. So my follower count right now is 5.9K, right? And according to the site BlueFacts, I have more followers than 99.8% of all Bluesky users. Remember, my original Bluesky account before I decided to nuke it was about 11K. That is crazy that I only have that having 6K makes you basically in the top 0.2% of Bluesky users. That already to me is a very damning sign. It means that there is limited reach. I do get a lot of good engagement on Bluesky, but my engagement on Bluesky is, there's sort of an always active presence of engagement that helps. It helps with getting things like rent paid. It helps with exposing my content to individuals. But as I demonstrated in my last stream, looking at my Beehive, the actual conversion factor is still relatively low. It's better than Twitter, but not by much. Because Bluesky is still a small site. If Bluesky was 10 times the size that it is currently, major difference. But Bluesky is not going to be that because people en masse did not move from Twitter to Bluesky. A portion of Twitter moved to Bluesky. I think also this is a really good animating principle for how follows work on Bluesky. You will find that essentially my follows jumped only because of the collective shout situation, and then eventually it plateaued again. And this is very common for Bluesky users. Something causes a spike, maybe they're caught up in drama or something like that, or maybe they find their fans and then it plateaus. And a lot of people don't plateau around 5-6K. It plateaus around 300. 1K, which is, again, a huge problem because the rule of social media is that all of your followers are not going to be engaged with your content at any given time. Again, I'm ranked as a relatively high-level poster on Bluesky, right? Good engagement. It dropped a little bit, I think, from like 300 to 800 recently because I kind of chilled out on posting as much. But again, like, I would say maybe 10% of my followers are engaging with me. That's like 60 people. If you're always tapped out on the same 60 people, look, I love those 60 people. A lot of them pay my rent. A lot of them are core fans of mine. But thinking from a business and strategy perspective, it is really important to try to aim to get 70 people or 80 people, 90 people, 100 people, because that's how you actually take some of the pressure off of those 50, 60, 70 who do spend a lot of money on you, and kind of like it allows folks, it takes some of the pressure off targeted like marketing to that group, and allows you to expand your reach, and allows you to expand your growth and expand word of mouth. When you are stuck on that 60, you are working with that same 60 over and over and over and over and over again. And from a business and marketing perspective, it's really hard to grow if you plateau. That's just common knowledge. That's just obvious, right? I'm not saying this in a way where I'm trying to treat any of those individuals that like really like my content as like just, you know, numbers, dots, whatever, because a lot of that group is really core to my success on Bluesky. It's core to my success with my content, and, you know, are people that I really care about, I know and love. But also, at the same time, you know, when you are running a business, you have to think that way. How do I grow? How do I strategically expand my content? On Bluesky, you do hit a ceiling. You're clamped. And that's really challenging for a lot of people. If we look at the Bluesky statistics over here, and I promise I'll catch up with chat shortly, but I really want to stress this point. If we look at the Bluesky statistics for the past 3 months, we see while likes continue to be good, decent, daily users is dropping, daily posters is dropping, daily likers overall is dropping. That means that there's like basically less people are liking more things. So like 5 people are liking more stuff than they used to before. Daily posts are dropping and daily follows are dropping in the past 12 weeks, in the past 3 months. If we look at daily users on Bluesky more specifically, we just see red. 7 days, red. 1 month, red. 3 months, red. If you look at daily posters, we had a time in August. Or September, I'm sorry. Things were a little crazy with the Charlie Kirk stuff. But overall, 3 months, 7 days, red. If you look at daily posts on Bluesky, again, Charlie Kirk stuff, a little bump, but otherwise red. Daily likes, actually, again, staying fine because less people are liking more stuff. But daily likers overall, as I mentioned, is down. Now, this is the stat I really want to focus in on. Daily follows. 2.15 million average daily follows over the last 7 days, which is a negative 8% growth in past 7 days, negative 17 1 months, and negative 28% in 3 months. Let's zoom in on this chart, and talk a little bit about it. My concern with Bluesky is this, and I've seen people say, why is this a bad thing? And I'll tell you why, because it's a double-edged sword. What's happening here is that less people are being exposed to new users on the platform. Follows essentially say, hey, I didn't know you exist. I want to follow you now. That's that's a good shorthand for what follows mean. If every day less and less people are following each other, that means that Bluesky is it's segmenting and it's cementing. It is becoming a social media platform where people are kind of fine with what they've curated on their feeds. They're fine with who they found. And they're just going to continue to be exposed to the content that they've curated for themselves. Unfortunately, what this does mean is that it's not so much it creates an echo chamber, because you might actually be surrounding yourself with people that do have disagreements and opinions. So all the time, my friends that are on the leftist trans side of Bluesky disagree with me and my opinions on things, including the issue of what to do with Bluesky. But here's the real kicker, guys. When you have this drop in daily follows, what it's telling to me is that people are losing connection with people that are not like them. When you are connected to people that significantly disagree with you or have not as much shared perspective, that is good because it grounds you a little bit. It makes you understand how the other half lives. It makes you understand how other individuals perceive the same situation. This is a very core and fundamental animating principle to a healthy democracy, right? Because if you're exposed to the way that other people think and you're forced to curate or change your perspective because you're exposed to the fact that, say, for example, person A thinks very differently than what you assumed, it keeps you more in touch with the lives of people who are like person A. If you would lose that element, you not just lose touch with how other people think about or respond to a situation, you start to fill in the blanks with caricatures of who that person is like, stereotypes of who that person is like. Now, obviously, a lot of queer trans leftist folks will come up to me and say, well, separating into my own personal kind of community bubble is good. And yeah, it's understandable. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Fediverse became very popular. However, when that happens, it is possible that each of you kind of will goad each other, upset each other. There won't be a third party to come in and moderate things. And B, some of your rhetoric might become a bit extreme. I think this is how we get more conspiratorial thinking on Bluesky that starts to emerge. I think that this is how we start to get people lose touch a little bit. Like, for example, I've seen people start to make conspiracy theories about me being a secret alt-righter because of one article I wrote about Pipkin Pippa. Now, that kind of behavior of like extreme all or nothing black or white thinking can only come from 100 people goading each other on thinking, hey, oh my God, this person did something that sucks. Maybe they're a fascist. Yeah, they're definitely a fascist. Like, you see what I mean? And what I'm particularly concerned about for the marginalized users on Bluesky is the inverse of this. I think what's happening as well is that the folks that think trans people are annoying, they're more tech interested, kind of Jesse Single supporting, a little bit kind of like, like very center, left of center, very libbed up in a neo-lib way. They also are doing the same thing. They're not going into our side of Bluesky and following us to learn how the other half lives. They also are separating into this echo chamber. This is how you get situations like the CTO of Bluesky and an engineer at Bluesky and the CEO of Bluesky all posting stuff that does start to upset its user base because they too are starting to separate into their own specific niche. I'm sure they're not following as many people actively as they did when those first initial spikes happened with Bluesky and then the first months or so after it. I'm positive of that because the daily follows on Bluesky also does tell us the story of the average user experience on Bluesky, and it is one where, generally speaking, people are not paying attention to new users. This is also really bad for creators because if you're a new creator, if you're a creator that needs growth in order to, buy food, this is really challenging. It's really challenging to go to a platform where people are increasingly not interested in new people. This, in my opinion, I actually think this specific stat might be an animating reason why Jay was a little bit more prone to crashing out, because I think she kind of gets that Bluesky is cementing into something that no one in the Bluesky team really wanted it to be, which is sort of a stable Twitter alternative that's like 2% of the size, but has users increasingly engaging in a rump effect where they are essentially, kind of like they're drawing each other into more extremes, which is how you get situations where people are also upsetting each other a little bit, getting each other really upset about all sorts of things happening on the app, whether it's the Jesse Single situation, whether it's, the inverse where people are like, oh my God, everyone is bugging Jay. Like, it is a situation where people also will kind of rile each other up. And I think that's going to get worse. I think what's going to happen is more like direct sort of like fighting with the Bluesky team, with other individuals on Bluesky. I think a lot of people see my decision to start to move away from Bluesky as a rejection of the progressive elements of Bluesky, the good parts of Bluesky. The reason why I'm starting to move away from Bluesky is because of the simple fact that the direction the platform is going down, a central crown jewel server that's very hard to break away from the clutches from, combined with this issue where they cannot insert new blood in. It is impossible for them to get new blood into Bluesky, and people are separating into their own communities. I know where that's going. And what that's going is a very stressful social media experience that ends in a lot of pain for its users, while also, due to the size of Bluesky, not providing much benefit to stay on there. This is why I'm starting to say I think it might be time to seriously think if you want to be on Bluesky, because the math's not mathing on this. The math's not mathing, and the logic is not logicking. I'm going to catch up with chat. Then I'm going to read Delusions of a Protocol with you guys to really cement this issue and really explain the issue at hand. So, Ember's here. Hi, Ember. Hi, Ember. Hi, Ember. My experience of Bluesky is I never got the same engagement as Twitter, and there's a lack of basic functions in Bluesky post scheduling that would even allow me to use a secondary or tertiary platform. Ember represents the average creator experience on Bluesky. Ember is a Twitch partner, guys. Ember is a Twitch partner. And there's a pretty sizable size and vor community on Bluesky. If Ember cannot make motion in the ocean on Bluesky, that is not reflective of Ember. She's very good, in fact, at marketing. She's good at marketing herself. She's good at working her socials. She's good at getting the word out, and she's a popular VTuber. If Ember cannot make it work, that is a reflection of Bluesky. That is not a reflection of Ember. The stupid dumb luck I've had on Bluesky is because I'm a journalist and because I just so happen to be popular for a certain segment of the Bluesky user base. There's a reason I hit a ceiling. Did you see her mangosteen post? I don't know the like importance of that. I don't know what that means. Actually. But I think even not looking at statistics and just looking at ease of use, etc., you can tell why Bluesky has been declining. It does not feel fully developed. Yeah, it's not. It's been kind of pushed to be something that it's not quite yet. Anna's like 40% of my feed, approximately. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of folks on Bluesky, it's also like I'm probably an anchor reason why they want to stay. Plateauing is so devastating. Yeah, it's very devastating. It's devastating for everybody. I think it's stressing out the Bluesky team, because I think deep down they know that what they're running is a social media platform, and that's going to be very hard to get funding if people are looking at Bluesky and they're saying, well, no one's really interested. We're out here entering the winter of our discontent out here on Bluesky. Yeah, the lack of worthwhile discovery feed leads things not breaking containment. It's almost the exact opposite of the issue Twitter has with no chronological feed. Yeah, the Discover feed on Bluesky is notoriously not very good at Discover. And one reason for that is because it is really hard to think up an alternative to a For You page, a Discover page that doesn't default to engagement baiting, drama, looking at people fighting with each other. Like, it's very hard to create that algorithm, because it's just the standard. It's the vanilla algorithm. The separation effect isn't really new, though. It's been occurring for at least 2 years pretty heavily. I agree. I think it's just getting worse. There's just a lot more people on Bluesky. And when you're on Twitter, at least when you're on a big social media platform and you're separating into different communities, the sheer size combined with algorithms that do expose you to things you normally wouldn't see does at least keep some grounding in effect. That's why you will see some Twitter users that are like from different parts of like the political spectrum actually end up befriending each other. Like, you see that in VTuber Twitter a lot. Like, VTuber Twitter, you will actually have people with varying political degrees that feel organized together for shared outcomes. Like, they're sort of like, I disagree on X political issue, but we all want the same thing, which is to make VTubing less, hostile to marginalized people. So it actually can be more animating in the direction of bringing people together that are separated from each other in political beliefs otherwise. Spiraling into reduced audience makes community action hard, as you can't reach new voices and now facing opposition, which makes it hard to see what the needs of the unreached are. As a community outreach person, I need to be where the people are. This is exactly my argument. This is why I'm starting to argue, and as I will make an argument for at the end of reading through this article, that the move is to go back to Twitter, because that's where the people are. There's a reason a lot of sex workers stayed on Twitter, folks, and it's not just like the pick me ones. It's like Lena B's on there and stuff like that. Very woke ones. Space Ghost is on there. Like the woke sex workers stayed on there, and there's a very good reason why. It's because that's where the people are. That's where the money is. That's where the clients are. People for a very long time on Blue Sky have actively antagonized me staying on Twitter, and it's because, look, call me when Blue Sky's got 4 billion people on it. If you don't have those numbers, then I gotta be on Twitter, and it's a business decision. Blue Sky is becoming very unsustainable. Only reason I'm still on there, to be honest, is because of all the scam DMs I got on my old Twitter account. Yeah, it's gotten bad on there. Hi, Anna. You've been through a lot, dear Dragon Lady. Thank you, Mizanix. Most careers I follow on Blue Sky were people I knew from Twitter. I barely discovered new careers on Blue Sky. Yeah, same. Like, it's very rare I follow anyone new on Blue Sky. Like, I don't find many people that, like, I don't recognize from Twitter. It feels a lot more like, oh, I met you at, like, college. Okay, I'm going to follow you. Like, it's that kind of equivalent feeling. Like, oh, I remember that summer retreat we did together. I'm going to follow all the people from the summer retreat. Not anyone new. Patreon's made a discovery feed, and I get why, but man, I hate it. That's crazy to me. Most of the Twitter people I followed on Blue Sky ended up leaving, so my current content creator feed is just people who start on Blue Sky. If you look at VTubers that have joined Blue Sky, the amount of posting they do is much lower than on Twitter. And a lot of times, I call it like the 4-month effect. A lot of VTubers tried to be active 4 months ago or so, and then they just stopped. It wasn't working. It didn't do anything for them. No motion. But yeah, I never bought into the idea that Blue Sky is this progressive bash and it's good for NSFW creators because I never saw that benefit of that much direct support from it. It just seemed like a circle jerk. I think for a lot of people, I got stuff, girl. I think a lot of people wanted Blue Sky to work. I think a lot of people wanted Blue Sky to become something it was not going to be. And I think that's why it's become the way it is. Like, there is an innate tension. And it speaks to the importance of looking in the mirror, right? A lot of people get caught up in what they want things to be, what they want social media platforms to be, what they want their following to be, what they want leadership of a platform to be, or what they want their favorite, creators to be. Very few people will look in the mirror and say, okay, this is what the platform actually is. This is what the leaders actually are. This is who my favorite creator actually is. This is the way things actually are. And the way things actually are on Blue Sky is a history of the same drama as Twitter and the same harassment as Twitter, just less overt bigotry. It's more covert, combined with like main characters per usual and a leadership that's antagonistic to its user base. I think a lot of people want Blue Sky to work, and I can feel the bargaining when I talk about these things about go back to Twitter, move off Blue Sky, because people want so bad to make Blue Sky work, but it's your toxic girlfriend. It's not gonna work. It's not working. Right now, it's not working, guys. It's not. You gotta break up with her, because it's not working. I stopped being active on social media in general months ago, but I could never fully step away from Twitter because that's where all the artists are. I think a lot of people share that feeling. Let me say this, though. Fur Affinity is a very progressive platform. Banning hate speech is a very NSFW-friendly platform with a lot of activity and market people will financially support you. I think also what Ember speaks to as well there is the fact that, like, you don't have to settle for this treatment. You can settle for a leadership that actually respects you, hell, wants you on the platform. I'm going to say a lot of mid-sized sex workers also came to Blue Sky and built it up early because we connected with high-paying clients there, though they've fallen off in the last year and a half or so in a major way. I think what you're speaking to, Fan of Lore, is exactly the content creator issue. It's a lot of them did in fact build it up and then they left and went back to Twitter. Like it just wasn't gonna work. Unfortunately, you do end up kind of asking the same 10 people or so to make most of the purchases, and that's not fair. Like, that's not fair. Hi, Lisa. Of course, I'm happy to fill you in. It's good to have you, Lisa. One of my friends gives my other friends a lot of shit for not posting a ton on Blue Sky, saying that he'll never grow if he doesn't, but he's a newer Blue Sky user, so there's no chance of him growing anyway. I actually recommended to go to Twitter instead because there's actually some ability to grow there. The amount that my following grew was pretty huge when I seriously considered Twitter again. When I wiped my old account, which just was filled to the brim with shadow bans, and started fresh, I got a lot of new viewers. I got a lot of new people. I got a lot of flesh blood. I got VTubers that I never would have networked with. And one of the reasons why I've really stressed Twitter is because at the end of the day, while the engagement is not as good as Blue Sky, the overall reach is really good, so it balances out. I understand some people need to use Twitter for work, but I can't justify using it as a regular person given its ownership. I think it's important to keep in mind that also Elon is not very different from like 90% of tech owners at this rate. Like Zuckerberg, you know, I'm a fucking Quest user. I'm a Meta user through Quest 3. You don't have to treat a social media use as endorsement, but Jay is going in a direction that's like Elon. And the antagonism, you know, the enabling of Jesse Singal, I think people don't have the perspective that enabling is, in fact, by using the platform, is a covert endorsement of how Blue Sky is handling things. Because you're voting with your time and your attention. Like, unless you're going to if you're going to argue that that's not true and you can disagree with Blue Sky massively and still be on the platform, then the same is true of Twitter. You can't have your cake and eat it too on that one. It's either being on Blue Sky is also endorsement and a support of the way leadership is handling things covertly, you spending your time on there, or spending your time on Twitter and Blue Sky is both or you can be on a platform and not endorse the behavior of the owners. I think that's simple. I know that Elon is worse than Jay in terms of her political beliefs and his political beliefs and things like that. I think it's absolutely true. But I think it's important to understand that the way Jay is demonstrating her behavior shows a level of antagonism that is still very easy to downplay. I think the way she is behaving is clearly transphobic because of the animating principles of like how she wants to behave. How is Twitter right now? I don't even know if it's safe for trans women to go back to without the threat of being doxxed. Twitter is only particularly... Let me put it this way. You'll still face harassment on Twitter like you did in the past. There's definitely more right-wingers there. There's definitely more open bigotry on there. But it's not as bad as a lot of Blue Sky people think. You just block or mute like the bad actors and you're fine. The only real issue with Twitter is if you're going on the platform and you're trying to be a major public figure like I am, then you're going to have a very difficult experience. But even then, it's not that bad for me. I just like take a break from posting as much sometimes. It goes away. I block or mute people. I turn on notifications to only the people that I want to see notifications for, and it's fine. Like a lot of times I don't even realize if like someone quote retweets me or whatever. Like you just block it out and don't think about it. It's actually not as bad as people think. Twitter main characters be like, I enjoy blackface. Blue Sky main characters be like, you have no power here, Toby. I hope you're doing well, Lisa, by the way. Beyond the Nazi stuff, Twitter is just exhausting. It's not changing as of how big it is, but it also has the largest platform for everything. I just treat it like a work shift in and out. Thanks for the gifted, by the way, Raven. I appreciate it. Even YouTube sucks like that with their leadership. Yeah, like, there's just that whole entire thing about, like, YouTube being, like, forced to, like, censor Trump stuff by the Biden administration. They like admitted that happened. Like, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like pick your poison. Like, they're all bad, even Blue Sky. Actively cultivate your feed, block fascists, and don't be tempted to QRT dunk racial and aggressive bigots poking the beehive and should be quite fine on Twitter. Yeah, like most of the progressive and trans folks that I know and follow me on Twitter, they don't have any problems. Like maybe you get a hateful person now and then, block, mute, you're done. If you make Elon or her daughter understand each other, the whole world will be better. I don't think that's happening. All right. I think I'm a bit behind. Being active on Twitter is how you get the actual DOJ, DHS looking at you. They'll look at you anywhere. Like, it's very... That's just going to happen anywhere. Like, there's glowies all over Blue Sky. Like, that's so obvious to me. They might not be posting, but they're following. You know, it's always like that. Even if you piss off the biggest, they forget about you in less than a week. Getting mad at the next thing is wild how short attention spans are. Hi, Zax. A lot of people were talking about forking the AT protocol. Did anyone verify if this is possible? Thank you for mentioning, because we're actually going to talk about the issue of AT protocol itself. We're going to talk about the issue itself. So let's get into it. Delusions of a protocol, October 1st, 2025. This is from As Hard Tide. So if you're online poison like me, you may have noticed that Bluesky CEO Jay Graber... Hold on a second, gotta drink water. By the way, before I read this article, if you like the vibes, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. It helps a lot. Every follow, every sub counts. Always feel free to type !Discord as well to see my Discord and join it. So let us read. From what I can tell from the arts communities, if they left Twix, they likely purged their account like Loish via that script she found and have next to no reason to go back, especially when the platform exposed the arts being used for the Gen AI BS. I mean, like, couldn't you argue that, like, Blue Sky is still getting Gen AI crawls all the time anyway? Like, it's, I think, like, you post any, like, obviously, yeah, like, you know, like, whatever's going off the AI and Twitter and reading stuff is bad, but it's not like Twitter's, you know, it's not like your stuff's not getting fed into AI everywhere across the world anyway. Hey, Bun Powder, so is that it then? Like, if I want to grow a base, there's no other option than Twitter. I'll talk about it a little bit more after I read this article. If you're online poison like me, you may have noticed that Bluesky CEO Jay Garber has been having sort of a slow motion, low key, I don't think it's that low key, public meltdown for the past several weeks. Most recently in this interaction with a user. This is the Waffle situation. We're going to, actually no, we'll read this. Jesse Single's malfeasance is widely documented elsewhere. What has Blue Sky's user base up in arms is mainly three things. Blue Sky's lackadaisical an inconsistent moderation telling Jesse Single Jesse Single keep his account on the service.
Smash the button, yo, touch a butt to hit the button to shit the hidden to hee the ho ho to smash that like button the like that smash butt to smash that on butt to like that smash on to get you smash on yo boss that baby he young employment provider.
Thank you, Pat. Very cool. All right, now let's read this article. Okay. Blue Sky's lackadaisical and inconsistent moderation letting Jesse Single keep his account on the service even after he committed serious abuses on the platform. Blue Sky's lackadaisical and inconsistent moderation banning and suspending accounts for nonsense reasons, probably most notably comics writer Gretchen Felker Martin, who reportedly was sanctioned for reacting with a lull at news of Charlie Kirk being shot. Blue Sky's lackadaisical and inconsistent moderation team updating the site's terms of service with new rules about porn that, although they are written vaguely and badly, seem to basically restrict users from posting non-con, dub-con erotica or even discussing the subject of rape in a non-eroticized way. For the record, I think Jay Graber is a transphobe. I think there's just too much evidence in her behavior to not read that into her actions at this point. No normal person would go out of their way to court Jesse Single. A lot of this stuff feels motivated by a glaring animus towards the user base that Blue Sky has attracted. And because this user base formed around people who simply couldn't justify being on Twitter anymore, said user base is full of highly visible trans users. But we can also view it as just run-of-the-mill stuff for any kind of corporate social media platform. You expect them to be unaccountable, to have vague policies that are enforced with no consistency, and so on. What distinguishes the Blue Sky case, though, is that Blue Sky has a very particular ideology that Graber and her cohorts push, which is that they are stewards of the AT protocol. She has repeatedly made this point. You can take your ball and go home. Graber posts something like this basically every other day, so let's examine her claim a little bit. The claim is it would be wild if someone would build a social site where you can migrate away, this is during the crash out, away without losing all your connections if you didn't like the owner, maybe even host your account on your own box at home so you could switch apps seamlessly or build your own. I think that would improve society. When people say decentralized social media, most people think of Mastodon, or more properly, the ActivityPub protocol that Mastodon implements. But AT-Proto is not really decentralized in the same way as ActivityPub. People don't necessarily realize this because if you try to explain to someone how AT-Proto works, they immediately go to sleep. But let's try anyway. With Mastodon, the effective unit of decentralization is the instance. Each instance is like a little social network unto itself, but instances can talk to each other, sharing updates and allowing users to follow one another and communicate cross-instance. I won't get into the merits of the system or whether it works out as a matter of social practice, but it's reasonably easy to understand in theory. I'll also add that it's somewhat easy to set up your own instance. You do need to have a working knowledge of Linux and things like that, but I've done it in the past. It's not that hard. At least I've done it with Pleroma, I should say. AT-Proto doesn't work like that. AT-Proto is a bunch of distinct services, each of which can be lumped or split in different ways. Here, have a diagram that'll put hair on your chest. So, I don't know the technology that well. But basically, Blue Sky PDS, alternative PDS, self-hosted PDS. There's a relay. Labelers, feed generators, and they connect with each other. So there you go. Anyway. Hold on a second. Let me recenter this a bit. Make it more like what I actually am seeing. Okay. The basic building blocks that make up Bluesky are the PDS or personal data server. This hosts your actual user data. The vast majority of Bluesky users host their data on Bluesky's own PDS, but theoretically you can use an alternative or self-host if you want. The relay, which aggregates all the updates from everyone's individual PDSs, which mostly to within a rounding error just means the single Bluesky PDS server, in turn, at least for the time being, and turns it into a single data stream that every other service on the network consumes. The relay is a centralizing single point of failure, and it's also a completely thankless job to run one. They are pure infrastructure with the theoretically no influence on what users see or do on the network. This single data stream is known as the fire hose, which, as the name implies, is basically one big feed of literally every action on the network aggregated together. The Bluesky app itself on your phone or the web is a view provided by a server that consumes this fire hose and filters out the posts from people you follow to create your feed. Labelers consume this feed to label posts to provide moderation or informational labels on content. Feed generators generate feed. That's where you get the Discover feed or the dozens of specialty feeds on Bluesky. Here's the fundamental thing, however. At present, there's no real production alternative to the Bluesky relay, the Bluesky Firehose, or the Bluesky app view. And the Bluesky app view is tied directly to the Bluesky moderation services. To my knowledge, there's only one alternate stack that runs AT Proto as a complete service, BlackSky. But this isn't a turnkey solution that you can stand up as your own independent alternative. BlackSky at present barely has documentation, and even BlackSky users are still more or less under the thumb of Bluesky's moderation service if they intend to reach 99% of the network as it exists today. AT Proto's complicated architecture more or less puts running an alternative app into the realm of well-funded nonprofits and startups, as opposed to Mastodon instances, which can easily be run by hobbyists on their own domestic hardware. With Mastodon, spinning up a new instance is as easy as starting a Docker container. That's true. With Bluesky, taking your ball and going home requires operating multiple services using software you will most likely have to build yourself or even maintain your own fork. But what this gets you is ultimately not much more than a little more granular control over how Bluesky's own labeling service affects what you see on the service. Your posts can still be hidden from 99% of the network, and even if third-party app views can peer through Bluesky's moderation labels, Bluesky's moderation has liberally handed down dubious suspensions which rendered certain users unable to post anyway. Even with practical technical decentralization, the vast majority of Bluesky users are on, well, Bluesky. Bluesky was never really packaged as something that was relatively easy for someone to spin up on their own servers. The network has been historically extremely centralized, and only small minorities of users have broken off. You'll probably start to be picking up as I'm reading this, the disingenuity of Jay's behavior over here. Basically saying, go run off and run your own site. What she's kind of saying here actually is that I can do this and you cannot. It's kind of goading. It's a little bit goading. And it's a little bit trying to get people also to realize that they cannot do this easily. It's a little disingenuous. I'm going to talk about that disingenuity. AT Proto decentralization doesn't exist as a practical reality. And if it ever does, it won't be for years. Years. Most of the work driving effective decentralization is being done by third parties who have limited guarantees about future compatibility with possible breaking changes on Bluesky's end. Bluesky Inc. isn't really making a protocol. They're making Bluesky the monolithic to within a rounding error social network that they operate. I do genuinely believe that the Bluesky team set off from the start to create a decentralized protocol. But unfortunately for them, they ended up running a social network. And at this point, AT Proto has become essentially a sort of ideological vaporware. A work for Jay Graber et al. To run a social media platform while claiming they don't run a social media platform. This is, of course, just another iteration of the Silicon Valley monoproduct. Power without accountability. The tech industry elite are very much like Gilded Age railroad barons, buying up whole towns, breaking up strikes, imposing top-down economic policy on whole sectors, except all the while they claim that they are just technology enthusiasts playing with their little trains. As it stands for users using Bluesky's app view, which is to say nearly everybody, alternate moderation services can only ever be additive, which is to say you can never see posts that Bluesky doesn't want you to see, but you're free to ban more posts or users beyond what Bluesky will ban. This system means that Bluesky Inc. retains the power to use their effective monopoly to suppress speech Graeber finds distasteful or ban porn that the moderators think is gross. This is true. A Lolly Show is already very specifically targeted on Bluesky. But at the same time, they can hide behind these third-party labelers as an excuse when called out on their neglect in dealing with figures like Single, a serial harasser and all-around scumbag. The practical upshot of this, of course, is the same as it ever was when Twitter refused to ban Nazis and harassers off their platform. A mess of individuals curating their own shared block list, leading to widespread friendly fire and false positives. Wow, it's almost like that has already been happening in a significant degree on Bluesky to the point where, again, I literally was talking on the stream how I got put on one claiming I'm a Kirsche fan. Me! Which is to say, a long-ass walk to create Twitter 2 while having a narrative about why you didn't just create Twitter 2, which nobody outside the building believes. As a side note, one consequence of this model is that Bluesky does not actually effectively enforce some of their user safety tools. For example, it's possible to view past detached quotes, a feature that alternate app view Dear Social actively advertises. This architecture means that Bluesky has enormous de facto power to control speech on the platform they control, while also making it, in the long run, harder for users to deal with dedicated or savvy harassers. Wow. Isn't that a very long way of basically saying it is kind of low-key hard to do what Jay and her team is suggesting people do? Thank you for the follow, by the way, a tall hobbit. And it does seem a little bit like people have the impression that AT Protocol is like the Fediverse, when it's actually more like a slightly federated average social media website. That's really, really what it is at the end of the day. Now, I mentioned the porn thing as something to focus on because, I've discussed in previous streams, the Bluesky team has suggested that they are not changing moderation on non-con, even though they significantly changed the wording on non-con to include illustrations and animations. And I want to stress something to you guys. If Jay is lying about all this and being a little disingenuous about what you can and cannot do, don't you think the Bluesky team might also be being a little disingenuous about what's going on with its moderation changes so users don't panic? If we are seeing a platform that its engineer, its CTO, its CEO are pushing a false idea of what Bluesky actually is, when deep down everyone can or should know in their heart of hearts what it actually is because they fucking advertised it being the thing that they claimed it was not, don't you think they might lie about the porn stuff? Do you trust these guys? Does anyone here actually trust anyone on Bluesky anymore? I don't trust any of them. I don't trust a single person here. They have demonstrated time and time again that they will not be fully honest. They won't. They won't be honest with you. So why should you take them at their word now? I'll give you a fun fact. Bluesky was actually supposed to put out a team-wide a team internally discussed statement about the non-con policy for this past week. It was supposed to come out this week. This is something that was clued into because of people that spoke with Bluesky. It never dropped. Why? Because this person derailed everything. Maybe it'll never come. Maybe it was just lying at this point. I'm positive at least it's because of this. We don't know what's fucking going on with that statement. But no one fucking knows, and they've been spending a lot of time having internal discussions about what that statement is and whether it's coming. Or rather, internal discussions about what that statement should be, what the policy exactly is. They don't even know what their own fucking policy is. No one can clearly state directly without internal discussions. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy, guys. It's crazy. This had me reinstall Twitter for the first time in 2 years. And that isn't the side of Bluesky with more melanin. That's what it is. Digital provinces of a metropolis, you can set up a server to be his vassals. This sounds like we were right about these decentralized Blue Sky, and we were right about the resentment of Blue Sky staff. GFK was banned once before that too. I don't remember why though. She keeps getting banned for stuff that, you know, okay, like I wouldn't necessarily post the way that Gretchen does, but a lot of the stuff that she gets banned for is crazy, and she would never get banned on Twitter for what she posts. Like, I think you guys need to understand a lot of the over moderation that was happening with Charlie Kirk stuff in September was not happening on Twitter. Like, it actually was worse on Blue Sky. Blue Sky was more sensitive to clamping down on that. Why? Because Blue Sky leadership is obviously concerned about being known as like the lefty woke platform. I find decentralized social media to be a really good concept, especially for democracy, but I think the logistics for it to work are very hard to execute. Probably take a billionaire to put together anyways. I also think too, Ember, that the thing is like decentralized social media is going to look more like it's not going to be as profitable. Like, that's actually what this comes down to. Like, in a capitalist society, it's just not quite as profitable. And that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Because things shouldn't have to be profitable. But it also means that some of the things that people want from social media that are tied to profitability, like content creators and artists, like actively advertising on a platform, they're not going to get that there. Ideological vaporwave is a delightfully cursed phrase. I'm going to start using it. I really like it a lot. I really like it a lot. ActivityPub is okay. Mastodon and Pleroma are still good technologies. I think Eugen Rochko is a dick, but you know what? The nice thing about Eugen is that I don't have to give a fuck what he thinks. Because I don't have to be anywhere connected or near him, you know. I literally wrote in Nano Server we need to go back to RSS feeds. Like, social media was a mistake, is my honest opinion. There was that stats that showed that social media use is actually declining, with younger individuals being more likely to use social media less. Social media was a mistake indeed, because we need advanced social technology to heal together. Bigotries come from our unprocessed fears. Yeah, I missed the forum era. You know, it's interesting. I was thinking that a lot of forums are still very popular. You know, Kiwi Farms. And I'm not about to sit here and say that anyone should use or defend Kiwi Farms. This is not a defense of Kiwi Farms. Kiwi Farms gets a lot of traffic. And what is it? It's a forum. It reminded me that actually this kind of more corporate social media isn't the only forms of social media out there. Obviously, Kiwi Farms, not a great place. A place that I don't like. I mean, like, I defend it on free speech grounds in terms of like the lawsuit that happened, but it's not a place that I like. But it is a popular forum. Like, it did remind me, like, hey, like, even if I don't like Kiwi Farms or what it stands for, it does show that at least you can actually cultivate a community outside of this corporate structure. Like, there's one silver lining of the website, which is that. Arian Forums too, yeah. Ecos Portal. Doxing Trans Women Central? No, it needs to be shut down on the ground. My anime list focus forms still. I'm not saying that, like, this is not, like, saying, like, you have to give Kiwi Farms credit. I'm just pointing out that, like, it still can be done. Like, I think that needs to be understood. We do need to go back to the forums. We never will, because everyone's a content creator now. Technically, Reset Era. Oh, yeah, Reset Era, NeoGAF, too. NeoGAF's still around. That's also a good example. Hell, even Something Awful still, you know, it's still popping. And don't forget 4chan, too. I mean, actually, let me look at the stats for 4chan. I can't go on 4chan. Fun fact, 4chan's banned on Twitch. But let me actually bring up 4chan and SimilarWeb, because it's also another good example. Reset Era developers hating gamers. I don't agree with that. Actually, this is really interesting. Wait, is this accurate? Hold on a second. No, this can't be. This is 4chan.com. It should be .org. What the fuck? There, I was like 102,000. Ah, there we go. Oh, that's better. It was like 4chan.com, 100,000. No way. Here we go. 43.67 mil from 4chan.org. So let's do a little comparison as a treat, you know. Similar webs, it's all porn sites. That's crazy. Let's type in bsky. Should be .app, right? I'll put in bsky.social just because. Lol, whatever. Fuck it. 4chan's actually not quite as popular as Blue Sky, which is really funny to me, but it's still popping. 43 mil is not bad. And then let's actually, the Kiwi Farms URL keeps changing, but let's actually pop that one in too to show you. There you go. 43 mil, 147 mil, 6 mil. Some websites, some news sites do less than this. It's actually a pretty fascinating case study in like the success of the form still. Because I would say Kiwi Farms is still one of the bigger forms de facto on the internet. It does go to show, though, that like obviously 4chan and Kiwi Farms are not places that I'm encouraging you to go on. I'm just saying that there is still continued user interest in these sites that are outside of the traditional corporate structure. Gelboro is an NSFW art community where VTuber like sometimes publishes. I like Gelboro. I like the guy that runs Gelboro. I won't get banned for showing statistics that's educational on 4chan. I'll get banned for browsing on 4chan. It's because anything could pop up on 4chan. Forums are good for community and niche interest, but kind of suck for discover reliability beyond forum topics. Forums, the people that run the forums will benefit massively from that reach, but they won't necessarily, but your average user won't unless they're already very popular. Like you'll get like, some of the more content creators popular of Kiwi Farms will get interest from its users that way, but the only real content creator that benefits from running Kiwi Farm, that benefits from Kiwi Farms by being on there is Null himself. That's really it. Let's look at Newgrounds. I'm just curious now. Newgrounds actually, Newgrounds gets about double the traffic of Kiwi Farms, but is 1/3 that of 4chan, which does go to show still how much of a heavyweight 4chan is, and also to Bluesky's credit, doing that 130 mil, how much it still punches above its own weight. It's for newer sites actually, it's pretty decent compared to some of the smaller sites out there. Maybe you shouldn't show the URL of Kiwi Farms. Is basically self-harm. I think if someone can't handle looking at the URL of Kiwi Farms, then they can't handle this topic of conversation. We're talking about very serious stuff. If they can't handle looking at the URL, then that's a larger issue on their part. Like, we're talking about the topic of how to navigate social media when transphobia is an issue. This is educational content. If people can't look at the URL, then that's an issue for them. Like, they should not be watching the stream. Newgrounds is unironically the best place to display your art and host a portfolio. I've had an issue with my audio on there. Honestly, I've had an issue with my audio on there. If I'm being honest. Like, it's just, it doesn't do the numbers that it could. Let's actually pop in Reddit. Let's pop in Reddit. I'm just curious now. I'm just looking at these things. I'm curious. Reddit does 4 bill. 4 bill. Which is pretty cool, actually. Because that puts it, that puts it in range of Twitter. And then to give you guys a good idea of where things are, you'd have a site like Newgrounds of HTML5 games in a forum. Got it. I do have a Newgrounds page, but I don't really use it much. The numbers are not there. I'm very numbers focused with this stuff because I have limited like energy to post. This is a really good example, though, at the end of the day, of where Bluesky is. I do think Bluesky punches above its weight, gets a lot of media attention. But 147.3 mil versus 4.413 bill and 4 billion. It makes sense why a lot of people would want to go back to Twitter. Burp. For some reason, my Chatterino, when I turned off streamer mode, makes a little notification now. Anyway. All right, here's the thing, guys. We'll say I feel like Reddit is probably the closest to a decentralized form of social media. I agree. It's the most successful form of it, I would say. Reddit basically turning their user answers into AI slop food is peak capitalism. I would say, so this is what I'm going to say. A lot of people are asking me, Anna, where do I go? What do I do because of this Bluesky stuff? What's next if I feel like Bluesky leadership is not really handling things well? And here's the advice I'm going to give. There are really ultimately 3 options. You can stay on Bluesky social and just see how things go. You can look into a PDS or otherwise some sort of way to still engage with AT protocol, whether it's your own PDS, whether it's someone else's, although as demonstrated by that wonderful, wonderful article, Delusions of a Protocol, that we read through in full. It is very hard to do that. Or you can just exit AT Protocol altogether and go to another social media site, of which there are not many alternatives for what you're looking for. A lot of times people throw different examples at me and say, what about this? What about that? Basically trying to address the elephant in the room that they don't want to go back to Twitter. So they're like, what about, this specific, what about Pillow Fort? What about, like, I don't know, like the Fediverse, things like that. And I've got to show you guys, like, that this is what you're dealing with here. With, for example, if you guys want to go to Pillow Fort, right? Not even 1 million people use Pillow Fort, guys. Not even 1 million people. Like, it's not a very serious social media site. It did have potential in the past, but it not really anymore. Compare that again to Twitter's 4.41413 billion. It is uncomparable to even Bluesky as well. Bluesky fundamentally is doing far better than most other potential competitors. And anyone that you'd want to move to that's like not basically Reddit or Twitter is a significant downgrade. People might say, what about Tumblr though? Okay, well, what about Tumblr? Let's look at it. Tumblr does 144.3 million, comparable to Bluesky, but a lot of people are not going to go back because of the fact that NSFW content still is somewhat limited on Tumblr de facto. That's not really coming back. I think a lot of people want to avoid the reality that it's either Bluesky or Twitter. That's kind of what it actually is. And my argument really is to go back to Twitter. What a lot of people don't understand about Twitter is the fact that it still has a massive leftist element there. I'm going to flash a couple accounts at you right now that are leftist accounts that are very active still on Twitter. Let me get them up. Let me get them up. One sec. There we go. Let me get up my favorite Twitch streamer. Let me get up you. We'll get up you, because you're also popular. Yeah, okay. You. I'm getting up everyone now. Okay. Oh, thank God I don't have Firefox up. Oh my God. Okay, 1 second. Let's see. I'll just do it this way. Yeah, okay. This is safe, so I won't accidentally show porn on Twitch. All right. So a lot of people will ask me, like who's on Twitter? Well, a lot of leftists still are. We got Dead Domain over here, 22.3k followers. We have the individual that put all the Grum stuff out too. We got Christina from Movie Night Extra. Also very popular account, very well seen leftist account. Hassan continues to be an advocate for staying on Twitter, continues to say that's where the people are. It's very important to be. 1.6 mil regularly goes viral. There's also the folks in the Hassan sphere. Hassan Twit is still really big. You've of course got on the VTuber side of things, Mbinted, 10.3k followers. You got Safara as well, also on the VTuber side of things on leftist Twitter, 5.6 followers. It's not a situation where Twitter is just 4chan now. I think a lot of people that have not been on Twitter for 2 years assume that have only seen the worst of Twitter and separate it into Bluesky in a way where in their mind, like they need to continue to convince themselves that the goal is to continue to stay on Bluesky. So Twitter must be particularly bad. It must be a particularly bad place. But Hassan doesn't continue to maintain 1.6 million followers, getting fucking 36k likes on his tweets without there being a significant leftist contingent. Are there more right-wingers? Is it more right-leaning? Yeah, of course. That's every other fucking social media platform. Even Bluesky. Look at where things are going, guys. This is the warning sign. Even isolating into Bluesky, it's getting a little worse. I think people need to accept that it is simply time to consider going back to Twitter. Moderate your experience and just be careful about what you post, and you will be fine. If anything, what you will do is all these leftist accounts I just mentioned, you will be supporting them and aiding them and getting the word out about what they're doing. I actually think it was a major strategic error to leave Twitter because most people did not. And so what we essentially did was weaken the experience of leftists that have remained on Twitter. I think we cleaved ourselves from Twitter's leftist organizing space in a way that hurt anyone trying to do mutual aid on Twitter, sex workers trying to sell their content on Twitter, things of that nature. And by the way, speaking of sex workers, here's Lena B, a very prominent, well-known leftist, non-binary trans sex worker, 155,000 followers. 155,000. I could bring up Space Ghost as well. You know, this is a situation where people have this idea that Twitter has just become 4chan, and it's not. It's not like that. It's different. I think that there's a lot of leftists who have remained on Twitter, and quite frankly, I think it's important to support those people. I do. Now, you can sit here and say, I'm not going to go back to Twitter. Hey, look, that's your decision. That's fine. I'm going to stay on Bluesky doing my announcements and stuff like that until it becomes unfeasible. Maybe they ban non-con porn or something like that. But I'm going to tell you guys the truth. A lot of people are just going to go back to Twitter. How you want to handle that's up to you. But that's the reality of the situation. And I'm telling you this not to make you feel uncomfortable or scared or upset, but because, as we've discussed with content creators, the artists are going to have to make a decision. The content creators are going to have to make a decision. Folks like myself that have to grow our business are going to have to make a decision. I look at the numbers and I continue to be on Twitter because I understand that's where the people are. I continue to be on Twitter because there is a solid left-wing presence. And hey, I was skeptical too. I would sit there and talk to like Safara and stuff like that and be like, I think you're kind of low-key selling out by being on Twitter. And then I spent more time on Twitter and I was like, no, like what Safara is doing actually is significantly important, being like a leftist presence on Twitter. It actually really helps because a lot of the online left has remained on Twitter. I personally am an advocate for going back. Now, if you disagree with me, that's fine. I'm going to provide you alternatives because I respect people's decisions. You can be part of my Discord. I'll continue to post announcements on Bluesky. I'm mainly going to be posting announcements on Bluesky. I'm going to be increasingly phasing out posting commentary and stuff like that. But I will still continue to provide you those news updates and announcements about what I'm doing and things like that. But I see it as sort of like admitting that things are not working out with Bluesky. This, to me, is getting it off my chest. It's not working out. It's not working out with Bluesky. And it's not looking good. It's looking like it's going to get worse. Like, it is. I don't believe in... Let me put it this way. I would rather deal with an actively hostile social media leadership than one that comes to me with a velvet glove and stabs me in the back. Because it's way more stressful dealing with that kind of behind the back stuff. It's way more stressful having someone shake your hand and then stab you. Because it fucks you up. It fucks up your nervous system. If you know that someone's a piece of shit, then you can sit there and say... You're a piece of shit. Got it. Got it. Elon, you suck dog shit. Cool. And then move on. I don't really believe in doing this whole velvet glove stuff. Like settling for that. I think it's worse. And I think it's bad for people's mental health. And I think people are exposing themselves to increasingly a platform where more and more hostility is in fact entering the room. I think it's a boiling frog situation. It's getting a little more transphobic on Bluesky. And people are trying to make excuses for it. Or tell themselves it's not as bad as it feels. It is as bad as it feels. You're upset for a reason if it's bad. It's bad on there. It's getting worse. You gotta listen to your gut. You gotta listen to your gut. November Kelly, Liv Agar, Talia Jane. I can't stand Hassan after the sorbet berry episode. My loyalty to idol culture is greater than my loyalty to any politics. Remember 2 years ago, things were so bad I had to block like 80 people every day on Twitter every single day. I was so fucking exhausted. I just had to leave and move to Bluesky. I think, guys, that Bluesky is going to be like that. And maybe not to the extremity, the extreme nature that Twitter has been. Not literally 80 people. But I think it is going to get worse. I think people don't want to be honest about that because it's scary. It's upsetting. It means you have to yet again move. But guys, I feel like I'm seeing the warning signs. This is not how like a safe social media platform operates, this level of gaslighting. I don't think there's any denying Bluesky is going to crash and burn. I just don't trust Twitter. Either personally, never trust the execs because they're execs. There's no Velvet Club, but I do feel bad for those who trusted them. And X, just silence everyone that annoys you and you will probably be fine. This has been my experience too. Like, it's actually just mute, block, and don't pay attention. And you know, like, worst case scenario, private your account and hang out with your homies. That's fine. That's all good then. Remember, existence is resistance, so even if a space has bigots or fascists, your presence alone makes them quiver and feel demoralized. We have actually seen this on the VTuber side of things. Like, there was that group, VTards, right, that I've talked about on stream a little bit. This, like, very, like, right-wing VTuber group. And the sheer coming out of all these VTubers, vanguarded really by the left side of VTubing, coming out and saying we're not standing for this, shut things down. If the left completely left Twitter and there was no leftist VTuber Twitter at all, VTards would still exist because there'd be no pressure. There'd be no pushback at all. This is kind of what I'm talking about, right? Like, there's actually very significant work being done on Twitter that I do feel some abdication of responsibility is given. And not everyone here has to fight the good fight, right? Like, a lot of folks here, that's not, you know, just because you're trans, just because you have left-wing politics doesn't mean you have to be an activist, especially if you're marginalized. But I do feel like, you know, people on Twitter, they kind of need your support too. Like, they kind of low-key do. Here's the reality, guys. At the end of the day, new people are not coming to Bluesky, but people are staying on Twitter. Decide what you'd like to with that information. But that's my argument. That at the end of the day, people are going to increasingly leave Bluesky to go back to Twitter. They might not announce it. They might be very quiet about it. But it's happening. And it's going to continue to happen because there's nowhere else to go. You don't have to like that. You don't have to like that decision. You don't have to support it. That's fine. I'm going to give you alternatives to support me. But you can't say I didn't warn you. Because one day it is going to get worse. You're going to have to make a decision. That's just the way it is. It's the way it always is. Hell, you might have to make a decision October 15th. Let's see how the fuck any of this goes down with the non-con shit. No one knows. No one knows. But I do recommend, even if you don't want to move back to Twitter, and hey, I respect your opinion if you don't, I think it's time to leave Bluesky. I think you do have to send a message to Jay that, like, this is unacceptable behavior. You do. You can't just post through it. Because at the end of the day, what Bluesky wants is any kind of engagement, good or bad. They want you to be on AT protocol. That's it. Wouldn't Discord be closer because it's just a bunch of servers? I think, like, Reddit and Discord are two sides of the same coin and being quasi-decentralized, but not actually decentralized. Many sites and territories politically controlled by the USA will start censoring topics about stuff like the Middle East. Tumblr also has its owners actually want to market it as an AI website program now. That's crazy. I have no idea what's going on in Tumblr world. Even though Tumblr still has some numbers, it's not pumping. It's not pushing. It's not punching above its weight the way that Bluesky traditionally has. Wow, Anna flashing after a one-day ban. There's a lot of drama of co-host people about Pillow Fort, but it's really about like one thread that had 10 people reading. It was massively overblown. With co-host, I know a lot of people like look back at co-host and they missed it from a year ago, but it just Pillow Fort and co-host to me were always two sides of the same coin. Like, they always were going to struggle because they're smaller social media platforms that always ran the risk of becoming way too big for what they could actually offer. And just running a social media platform as opposed to like a forum is very hard. It's hard, it's expensive, it's complicated. There's high level political stuff going on at any given time. It's almost more like running a country. It's very challenging. I'm just not surprised things ended the way they did. Aren't just about all those just Twitch streamers that post on Twitter on the side, though? No. Lena B is mainly on Twitter. Dead Domain is, like, actively on Twitter. Hassan also is, like, actively on Twitter. Like, he's posting on there. He's not just, like, occasionally posting, like, a Twitch. Like, announcement. Like, he actually... Ken Klippenstein also is on both Bluesky and Twitter. He's on both, which a lot of... folks are. Taylor Lorenz is too. Nathan Grayson didn't get banned from Twitter, but did briefly get banned because of the Charlie Kirk article on Bluesky. Remember, existence is resistance, so even if the space has bigots or fascists, your presence alone makes them quiver and feel demoralized. By the way, if you're lurking, don't forget to hit that exclamation point lurk. It helps a lot because the Twitch algorithm is bizarre. I remember 2 years ago things were... Oh, wait, no, I already read that. The very AI of X Grok is still quite progressive. It is very funny how they haven't been able to sabotage Grok yet. I also think the anxiety over X and AI has been funny because the Bluesky team is obviously like very open to AI. Like Jay just fucking posted AI slop. Like it really is a pick your poison situation. I feel a lot of times like there's more of this sunk cost fallacy thing going on where people really want to convince themselves that like Bluesky is significantly different from Twitter when really they have a lot in common. I will say last year Bluesky moderation has made a lot of people in my circle not want to follow other people because they have banned based on follows before. I think that happens everywhere too. Try to make a Twitter account, got suspended in 10 seconds. I'll just take the chance to be less online. It is definitely... I will say that with Twitter... the way they've handled the AI bot issue has not been great. Twitter is not exactly a perfect site either. It's just the main advertisement to come back to Twitter is its strong reach and to stick it to Jay. And because a lot of us are still on there. Because most probably Elon cares more about Zionists. You'd be surprised how many hardcore Zionists are totally cool with Hitler. The historically aligned co-host was a joke, right? Co-host wasn't a joke. I wouldn't call co-host a joke. I would say that co-host is very difficult to manage because... there were always going to be limitations for what a very small team could handle. They never had enough money, and they were actively harmed by Stripe. Like, payment processor issues from Stripe made it very difficult for co-hosts to actually, monetize properly. Just started doing work on making my own website. Don't really care for exposure, popular. Not gonna lie, I hate the idea of becoming famous. Just kind of want to try something different. All good. Thanks for the lurk, M. Chris. Grok is going to turn into a Durandal after its 10th racism surgery. Sentinel Hoodie, thank you for the follow. Co-hosts also exploited their staff free labor. I don't think there was exploitation of co-host staff. Co-host was, hi Justron. Co-host was a former Tumblr-like clone. Well, not clone. I don't think clone is the right word. It was kind of supposed to be like Tumblr. It was a small venture that was very progressive in nature. Is what I would say. It was supposed to be progressive in nature, and it did have a pretty progressive following, but there were some issues with moderation, or not moderation. There were some issues with keeping it functional long term and like the scale of the site and the way the team needed to scale. It's either Twitter or Bluesky if you want to keep in touch with journalists and influencers. Mastodon's amazing for me and my friends, but yeah, not viable. Twitter is just so draining when I was on it, so I so don't want to go back there and block people that reply nasty shit, and Bluesky is blocking non-con, which I don't really care for, but it is going in the shitter soon. What the fuck is anyone who doesn't care about becoming popular going to do? I guess with the Bluesky non-con situation, we are going to have to wait and see how that plays out, is just really all I can say. The 70K payout is something we haven't heard about. Last we heard they ran out of money and did tell their staff until they shut down. I will say I don't know specifics about the co-host situation in terms of like monetary things and things like that. I know why it had situations. I know why it shut down. I know that it was a situation where it was having trouble functioning to the level to which it needed to. But that's really it. I don't really know specifics about what happened internally. I also think sometimes, this is just off the cuff, I don't know specifics, but I think sometimes when social media like co-host or these kind of community ventures struggle, it can be a real issue with getting things together. Like, it can just be a situation where it's like with co-hosts, like, it's like, how do I say it diplomatically? Like, there can be just a lot of like kind of like she said that kind of goes back and forth, and like it can be hard to get all the information about what actually happened. It's just with these smaller ventures, these smaller community oriented ventures, it can be really difficult to get the full truth. I don't know the specifics about co-host. I don't know if there's like actual specific information about internals there that need to be looked at for like further information or understanding of the story. But I would chalk up a lot of the issues co-host had to simply trying to run a social media platform that had its issues. It's just simply co-host was a situation where it's really hard to run what co-host wanted to do at the size that it operated at, is what I would say. So I think a little bit of grace and like understanding needs to be extended. Like if they never got their last paychecks, I'm sure they would have said so. There's no indication they weren't paid month to month. Fred Durst Friday, it was yesterday. What's Fred Durst Friday? What is that? What do they mean by that? It's the stay for the he said, she said bullshit day. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I have no idea. I have no idea. Like with all this stuff. I have no idea with all this stuff. 4 to 6 staff for how many people, not all of those were monitoring instead of working tech side. True. Like it's just hard. Like I have more empathy for the co-host team because what they were ultimately trying to do was provide a community service. Like I think that ultimately was their goal. They were trying to do something that was different and alternative in the tech space. Whereas what Bluesky is trying to do is a lot more traditional in nature. Making a note to not talk about co-hosts again. I just don't know enough about co-hosts to talk about specifics internally there. I just don't know the situation. I do know that co-host really needs a 2-hour video essay. It's so interesting to me because I had a co-host account. I posted on there briefly and then like I just forgot to use it. And it was the same issue. Like even though I wasn't actively VTubing at the time, it was the same issue of where's the numbers, where's the reach? I got to be where the people at. And then I just realized that there weren't that many people on co-host compared to the other sites they gravitate to. So I was like, okay, like, you know, like if Bluesky is kind of the lower level, like Twitter's the upper level. And then I just realized, eventually I just saw like co-host closing down like a year ago. I was like, I'm not surprised, but I am sad because a lot of people I liked really liked the site. And I think eventually filtered back to Bluesky as a result. Let's see. So I was originally going to play Stick It to the Stickman. But today's stream actually was very intensive to go over all the information. So first off, I'm going to pay out folks that wanted to see me play Stick It to the Stickman. We'll do that a later date. I want to talk instead about my ban, close out, and then we'll raid. Because I do feel like there is a bit to go over there as well still. So for those of you that voted Stick It to the Stickman, you did in fact win. You did in fact win. Thank you, mods, for paying it out. You did in fact win. Thank you. I appreciate that immensely for paying it out. I love you, Homer. Delicious monies. Thank you for voting successfully. A lot of you figured it out. You figured out I was not going to play Valorant. You figured out I was not going to play Valorant. You figured it out. I will say, okay, before I go into the sex ed thing, just one last thing about Bluesky and why I want to move off it is just, I also feel it's just getting harder to like have discussions with people. Like, I feel like it's a very tense environment, and it's been a tense environment. I feel like when I say maybe contrasting opinions, people start to argue with me. And I just, I don't want to go on a site to argue. I want to go on a site to, like, talk about how I feel about something, and then that's kind of it, you know. You beat my Mega Bonk score? Ugh, don't think I'm going to use Twitter for as long as the whole ID verification fiasco is going on. I was there when Microsoft closed its Twitch clone, and man, was it somber. Mixer, I remember platform closings always hurts the heart for smaller creators who gave it their all and have to start from zero again. Twitter, no better at that, if I'm going to be real, like people arguably. Okay, I will say, I want to talk briefly about my Twitch ban. So, you have to be the perfect amount of left you not pick a fight on Twitter from what I noticed. That's why I only kind of shitpost on. It's so annoying because like there's a lot of organizing potential on Bluesky, but to organize that sometimes also means like corralling people and like getting people to understand disagreement and approach. And I think Bluesky users really struggle with that. I think this tends to happen a lot, like when people leave a platform because they feel very upset with a platform they went to prior. There's a lot of triaging that needs to happen, but sometimes that triaging as a result sort of causes people to like close into themselves a little bit, become a little bit more skeptical of others, more us as them mindset, needing belonging and validation to the sense that like any like opinion or difference can like really be harmful for them. And just it's an issue, I think, with Bluesky. Like I find that on Bluesky, like if people dislike a specific take of yours, like it does become a big issue. I don't have a lot of empathy for Jay because I think like she has higher responsibilities and like quite frankly should be putting funds into like getting a PR people to manage things for her. But I do also see sometimes like people argue, I don't know, just like, you know, sometimes people just have contrasting opinions but have the same like fundamental, you know, beliefs on trans rights, protecting people, you know, like, you know, anti-censorship stuff, but they can get vicious with each other too. It's why I call, again, Bluesky's blue, it's just blue Twitter. Like it's just blue Twitter. That's what it is. All right. I'm going to talk about my Twitch ban really quickly. So, I can't show you screenshots or videos from the VOD because I'm being very cautious right now. I'm being very cautious. Did they elaborate any more about what the issue of the educational stream was? So I'm going to go over everything they've told me. And that'll give you everything that you need to know. So, because it's not been great. So here we go. Let me find Twitch. Down your appeal. Okay, fantastic. So this will not show all of my delicious emails that are full of good, delicious information, yummy social security number. Okay. I'm off to bed. Have a good one, people. Thank you, Justron. I hate Twitch, girl. Yeah, Twitch has not been great. Okay. So Twitch said, so a little context. I was doing a stream on Thursday. It was my first perma-schedule Sex Ed 101 stream. And it was going over sex education material for if you're a partner of a transgender woman. What you need to know, how to engage with her, you know, sex advice, stuff like that. Educational in nature, didn't show anything raunchy, didn't show any pornography. You know, we made some jokes now and then, made some crass jokes, but I've had multiple people, you know, on social media now go through the VOD and say basically there wasn't anything that they found was particularly, you know, crossing the line at all. I posted the VOD. I'm not going to say where specifically to avoid Twitch's wrath because I'm going to share this. I'm going to post this VOD later. But midstream, and I was worried this was going to happen because it happened in the past of a sex ed stream. Twitch sent me this. Hello, AC Valence. Twitch is committed to keeping our community safe for everyone. As a part of that, require all users to ensure that anything shared on their account abides by Twitch's terms of service and community guidelines. Based on review of your activity or content, we have issued a global suspension on your account. As a result, your access to Twitch services is temporarily restricted. Please be aware that repeat violations may lead to more serious actions on your account, including longer temporary suspensions or permanent suspension. Reason: sexual content. Broadcasting, uploading, soliciting, offer, or linking to pornographic content, or offering or soliciting sexual content or services for goods, services or money, including cheers, bits, subs, and in-game items. Examples of violative conduct include role-playing oral sex in VR, drawing characters engaging in sex or masturbation with or without sexual body fluids visible, displaying sex toys in a non-educational context. The suspension was for a day. I appealed the suspension, and literally Twitch didn't even wait for like the whole like VOD length. They sent me back, I think like within an hour, your account was recently suspended. A member of our team has reviewed your appeal. And after taking a look into the details of your case, we have determined that your account remains suspended due to your violation of our community guidelines. Now let's bring up the sexual content section of Twitch's community guidelines, all right? Let's see. What is it exactly? It's sexual content section. Where the fuck is it? Didn't even link out to it properly. Okay. To ensure content on Twitch is appropriate for diverse audiences, certain sexual content is prohibited regardless of the medium used to create it, digital or non-digital. Users are prohibited from broadcasting, uploading, soliciting, promoting, offering, and linking to pornographic content. For example, you may not show, offer, promote explicit, simulated, fictional, or implied sex or masturbation. This includes oral, anal, and vaginal sex, touching of genitals and self, or mutual masturbation, or prolonged audio that implies sex, masturbation, orgasm, display of sexual body fluids, advertisement or solicitation of sexual services, including prostitution, escort services, sexual massages, and filmed sexual activity. Content that focuses on clothed, intimate body parts, such as the buttocks, groin, or breast, for extended periods of time. Let me make sure this is correctly. There we go. Consensual sexual violence, such as flogging or whipping another person. Non-consensual sexual violence is subject to our adult sexual violence and exploitation policies. Graphic descriptions of sex acts such as phone sex or erotica, display of sex toys in a non-educational context, such as bragging about the size of a dildo. The foregoing list is not exhaustive, and Twitch reserves the right to remove content that deems to be inappropriate. Users may not directly link, promote, or advertise pornographic content in their broadcast, profile, or chat. While users may not directly link to pornographic or sexually explicit content in their broadcast, profile, or chat, users will not be penalized for linking to their personal websites or social media pages that may incidentally contain these links. Enforcement notes and clarifications. Enforcement notes are additional examples of what is and isn't allowed on Twitch, focused on clarifying existing policies already being enforced. I'm sorry, 1 second. Updates here do not indicate a change in policy, but are additional examples of existing enforcements. Direct links to websites that primarily provide sexual content are not allowed in your content. Overlay bios, sent in chat, etc. If any links to this kind of content through methods such as link aggregators are found, Twitch may apply the sexual themes content classification label for a set amount of time. We allow certain content that includes sexual themes, providing it is educational in nature, has relevant content classification labels applied to the stream, and doesn't break our other guidelines such as nudity. Allowed example, you may have content which showcases how to apply a condom on a banana, providing the intent is to educate. Now again, we allow certain content that includes sexual themes, providing it is educational in nature, has relevant content classification labels applied to the stream, which it did, and doesn't break our other guidelines such as nudity. I'm looking at my stream information tab right now, and I had selected the sexual themes tag, which is the only one that you need for this kind of content. There's not like an additional sex education one. Positioning your camera to highlight intimate body areas is not allowed. Artistic depictions of nudity are not allowed in the context of public art. If prohibited sexual content is shared accidentally, your account will still be suspended. If your channel is reported multiple times in a short period of time, this will not result in your channel being suspended if you did nothing wrong. Emotes, badges, cheer modes, subject to our policy. Games featuring nudity. Games where nudity is the core focus. Users may not engage in simulated sexual activity or erotic roleplay with other players. As long as the attire requirements are met, body painting the breasts and buttocks is allowed. So I want to stress, again, there is a carve-out in here for, it's mentioned twice even, educational sexual themes content. Content that is educational in nature that includes sexual themes. And I want to stress specifically, this was not about the attire I wore, because I have been banned in the past. My very first ban was over my attire. It was what led to my original ban on April 9th. I did a sex ed stream basically in a VR chat bikini, and that one was labeled for inappropriate attire. So nothing I wore was actually upsetting to Twitch. They did not highlight specifically that my attire was problematic. The issue for Twitch was specifically something to do with sexual content. Now, why exactly was that the case? It's really hard for me to say. Why exactly? I don't know how Twitch handles moderation. I've heard in the past that banning of streamers is all human based, is not AI based, but I don't think that's entirely true, because like Voracia, for example, recently also was banned for no clear reason, and she suggested it was likely something to do with like a false flag from AI or so. The only thing I can think of that might have gotten me banned on the sexual content area is because I did describe, I did use slightly colloquial terms to, in a fun way, talk about penetrative sex. I did show, how to, using my fingers, how to engage with a trans woman's penis. But that's it. I didn't draw anything sexual. I didn't get too explicit. I did talk about, ERP of people, but that's it. I didn't do anything that was too extreme. And the way that I engaged with the sex education material was basically no different from what you might honestly still see on YouTube. Even if YouTube is prone to moderation around sex education, it's not prone to that much moderation around sex education. There's still a lot of sex toy reviews that are never dinged. My sex toy reviews would always be safe on YouTube, for example. They would never, to the best of my knowledge, maybe it was the final thing that got me pulled from YouTube, but it was never a point where YouTube moderated the content. Maybe they'd moderate a link out in the bio, but that's it. So if Twitch will only accept sex education material that's very clinical and very stiff, that's not really fair. That's not how people, that's not going to educate adults, right? Adults, you need, as a sex educator, a lot of times you need to meet adults where they are at, and that means being entertaining. Now, yeah, of course, there's a limit. I think it'd be understandable if I showed pornography on Twitch and Twitch banned me. That would be very understandable if I showed penetrative sex or something. But simply discussing how to engage with a trans woman's body when she's on HRT, and doing so in a way that educates by reaching people where they are at, the language that they need to hear, the language that resonates with them, the things that will help them remember what they need to know when they talk to their potential future partners or their current partner. That is still educational, even if I use the word, the P word, pussy, instead of specific clinical terminology. Okay? Yeah, maybe that was the issue. I don't know. But it's very challenging for me if Twitch doesn't explain why this sex education material was banned. And it's very challenging for me when they don't answer my appeals at all. They make it very obvious that they didn't look through the VOD in full. They didn't see the full context of the VOD. And it's very challenging for me when I post that VOD on sites that are not Twitch. People review it and they do legitimately find no reason for the ban to occur. It's very upsetting because Twitch does go out of its way in its community guidelines to say educational sexual education content is fine, but also apparently it's not. You can't just say you can do it and then ban people for doing it. At the bare minimum, you have to be more specific about what you mean by what is and isn't educational, if there's a line where it is. Now, here's how I'm approaching this. This is the second time that I've faced some sort of moderation over over a Sex Ed 101 stream. This is the second time also I've faced a sexual content ban. In the past, I was mass reported, and Twitch never really said what was the offending thing. It just was reported and suspended for a day. I've done a lot of Sex Ed 101 streams since my last Sex Ed 101 ban, prior to this one. And I do think I can still do some sex ed themed streams on here, but we are going to be very careful. Those are going to be much more about censorship. They're going to be much more about ace arrow relationships. They're going to be more like, what does asexuality mean? A lot of the nuts and bolts actual like sex education stuff will not happen on here. It is very clear that Twitch is fine with ace arrow stuff or like talking about identities and pronouns and stuff like that if it's not too explicit. Like that kind of sexual education content is fine. But it's very obvious to me that I can't talk about explicit sexuality, and I'm very nervous about even talking about like BDSM, CNC, mental health, and like domination submission. I really wanted to do like a femdom demo where like I brought on a collab partner who femdomed me as like a demo, something that was not sexual but had domination submission roleplay, and I don't even feel confident doing that on here. Like I think that cannot happen because I'm nervous. I don't know how Twitch is going to respond. So the sex ed streams will continue. They will be on another site instead. I'm not going to be too specific about where that's going to be. If you want to know where that's going to be, !Discord. If you want to know where that's going to be, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Bluesky. That's the best way to know. I do have a schedule that's going to be posted weekly that I don't want to reveal it yet because I got some new cool art from Nova Size, but I do have a schedule on the way that you'll be able to see every week with specific notations about what time, the permanent schedule hardwired built in, and what platform I'll be streaming on. So there you go. Could it have been the ass slapping sound? No. Those sounds all the time in ASMR streams. It would not. Then no way. Holy cow, Twitch has cracked down hard. No wonder just chatting is so family friendly now. The hot tub meta days seem to be gone. I mean, this is the nature of the internet now. It's the nature of it. It's getting more censorious. The internet as a whole is getting more puritanical. It's the free internet, the open internet is dying. The closed internet is emerging. Just ridiculous that Twitch refuses to say what they actually ban you for, probably because it was bullshit. It's a basic thing. Even YouTube will highlight, yeah, this is where. And like people will say, this is fucking dumb, YouTube, but at least you know. Like when Stronny from Velor was put in YouTube jail like a month or two ago, like YouTube was like, here's the point where you got like, that was like sussy to us, and it was literally her breathing, not in like a sexy way, it was just her breathing, and it's like, that sucks, but at least like she and her agency knows apparently you can't breathe on YouTube anymore. Like at least she knows, instead of the guessing game. This guessing game of censorship makes it 10 times harder, because now I don't know what I did wrong. I don't know. And if Twitch wants my content, then it should let me know, So good to have you, Antonios. Also, holy cow, Twitch has cracked down. Oh, I know I read that one. Smells of can be sexual education, but not feature any gratification. I think really what they want is like the sex education material has to be very vanilla, and it has to be like in a classroom setting. Like, I think that's actually what they want. Like, that's what I'm getting. I saw people suggesting Mastodon, but I personally can't get into it because the UI is rather unintuitive. Got you. We've moved on a bit from the Bluesky discussion, but word, I definitely can relate to what you mean. It's clearly educational, no more adult visuals in the banana example. Yeah. They use a special tran bad rule for your suspension. That's what it feels like. It's really annoying that they banned the stream. It was really annoying that they banned the stream. Like, geez, guess I'm not allowed to learn about my own body. Right? Especially because, quite frankly, I think if like this was about like a cis woman's body, like there would have been if it was about cis women's sexual education, like there would have been more outrage and would have been more people upset, and I think a lot more people like I think it would have. I don't think a moderator at Twitch would have banned that. I think it's because like trans equals too sexual. Oh, we're talking about like trans bodies. That's like too sexual. Clearly, you need to indicate you're doing a sarcastic jerk off and not a sexual jerk off with your hands in the air. Yeah, right. I know medical animators who want to stream on Twitch but kept getting flagged. These are literally science illustrations made for schools and they get flagged. That kind of stuff is exactly why I think the claim that it's only human moderation is bullshit. Because all the time, these kind of like suspensions happen over something that has to do with like what an AI would snag, Sex education, look inside, no sex education. That's fair. Having to walk on eggshells around this is still a pain though. It really is. The VO hands very drunk oni is very much how I feel. Hell yeah, Ace Talk, not enough coverage, but also sucks you can't talk about what you want to. Yeah. That's the way it is. We will continue to find ways to talk about queer sex education without talking about, I guess, sex, ironically. Lack of transparency is just rampant on all these platforms. To include app-based work, you broke the rules. How? You broke the rules, section 123. Yeah. I mean, the lack of transparency is a feature, not a bug, because it just gives them the power to just kind of like hit you with whatever and vaguely gesture. Just don't breathe. No breathing allowed. You breathe on YouTube, you're cooked. Never breathe, chat. Never breathe. Get intravenous oxygen from machine instead. If you breathe, it's like basically porn. Like if you breathe, like that is basically, you're basically porn. They get hit all the time about with the agency's models. They get hit all the time with like basically doing stuff that's like a nonsense ban. Oh no, you breathe it a certain way. That's like so sus. Meanwhile, the YouTube ads will straight up be like, oh, do you want like AI porn of like this random woman in your college, in your high school? Well, we can do that for you. We can make you kiss this stranger at your high school. Like, it's like, it's just like, it's fucking like idiocracy shit, dude. Like, it's so hypocritical. Like, YouTube has all those bizarre ass, like, very sexual ads running. But meanwhile, if you so much as like breathe, you are in so much trouble. I think someone pointed out before that like ads basically like the users are heavily moderated under puritanical standards, but the ads are allowed free reign. Like, it's crazy. It felt very trans-misogynistic, which is also pretty standard for AI mods. I think in general, most sites have de facto and obviously moved to AI mods, and it's just caused major issues. Human outsourced to a country that hates LGBT even more than here. I mean, I remember talking to Twitter a while ago, and they outsourced a lot of their mods to all over the globe, so there would be like these bans for kink content that was not sexual, but like maybe kink oriented, and people would just flag stuff because they felt like it was too sexual because like, you know, maybe, you know, their perception of things, their perspective, you know, maybe the English is maybe English is like a language that they're learning, or they've just recently, like maybe they don't have the American perspective on certain like phrases, rhetoric, things like that. So they would be seeing a word that to us might come off as like it depends on the context. They might be a little bit more over censorious. Like the global aspect of moderation does in fact play a role because everyone does make decisions based on cultural background. So never have sex, always be a virgin forever and ever, and if you hold hands you'll get pregnant, be careful. Now that is a sex ed Twitch stream I can do. They're literally advertising deepfake. YouTube's been advertising deepfakes. It was a problem when I was on YouTube a year ago. I got a Twitch ad one another streamer's stream here, and it was for condoms. She was fucking pissed. That's crazy. Heck, Twitch once ran an ad on my stream for a toilet one, but mine had been camera banned. Yeah, it's exactly like that. How dare you like talk about it using a sex toy, but you know, Twitch can do whatever the fuck it wants with ads. So. Nationality, culture, it dominates our perception. There's a sex educator watching YouTube, and she just had to walk on eggshells with what words she uses. It's just annoying how censorious social media is. Yeah, it just, we live in a landscape where it's just like it's increasingly getting harder to educate people because the words that you and I would use in like, I don't know, a voice call, a text message, we can't use on YouTube, you know? We can't say, you know, you can't talk about like experiences with like sexual assault. You have to say grape. What the fuck? I don't want to use grape. This is a serious subject. What the fuck's wrong with you? I shouldn't be suppressed on the algorithm just because, like, I didn't put a G in front of it. What the fuck's going on? Like, it's such a stupid world. Can't have shit anymore. We live in a stupid fucking world. That's just the reality. We live in a dumb fucking world. It is what it is. Wait, Anna, can I post the whitest kids you know skip? Please do. Please do. Please do. Oh, 1 second. Sorry, chat. All right. Okay, I got it. Okay. Wait. I didn't know what skit you were talking about. I was just like, sure, whatever. The Grapist? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Okay. 10-second rule. We see the first 10 seconds, besides, you know, the opening here. Okay. Okay, this is pretty good.
You kids look like you could use a delicious fruity beverage.
Who are you?
Might I suggest Fizzy Pop's Grape Blast, the new soda from Johnson and Hedges?
Open wide, kids, because I'm going to grape you in the mouth.
Okay. I think we hit the ceiling for the amount that I will show on Twitch after my ban. Bro, that's crazy. That's oh, it gets better. Okay. Well, Mod sent it to me, so it's gotta be true.
He's going to what them in the mouth?
He's gonna grape them.
He's going to grape them.
Yeah, in the mouth.
Right.
Sure. There's more.
No, I'm sorry. All right, well, I'm not sure that I'm comfortable with the catchphrase, I'm gonna grape you in the mouth for our new mascot.
Yeah,
I mean...
We're just not sure about that one. Yeah, we might want to workshop it a touch.
Really? Why? That's his thing. He grapes people. He grapes people in the mouth.
We're just not exactly sure that...
Okay, wait. It's crazy that this was a skit from a bunch of years ago and is now like... That's the word you have to use on TikTok. I don't know if I want to watch this one on full, Homer. Because the subject of today's stream has been pretty serious. But I do think it's really funny that, like, this skit, like, the word that's at the center of the joke is now the word we have to use so we don't get algorithmically suppressed to talk about very serious topics. I will say stream the full episode on Twitch without issues. Hell yeah. It would be pretty, we'll definitely come back to that on a more, like, jovial stream with an edgier sense of humor. There's just a lot of steers this stream. Why do you want Hassan eaten by wolves? If the congressional hearing that the CEO had been summoned to, I hope he throws people like Hassan Pike to the wolves. What? What's with the Hassan hate? Like, bruh. Hassan Vor. Guys, like, Hassan is one of my favorite streamers. Like, he's actively an inspiration to me. I don't think this is the chat to come in and be like, I hate Hassan. Hassan sucks. Cause like I'm not gonna be having an argument with my chat about that. I fucking love that man. I think he's great. I don't think you have to like him, but like I'm not gonna argue about him. Like I really like him a lot. I think he is such a positive influence on Twitch, and I think he's inspired a lot of leftists to like keep on fighting the good fight in a time when it's getting really hard. I feel like a lot of people don't like Hassan also because, like, you know, like, his whole entire thing is, like, rights for the Palestinian people, you know? Like, his name's Hassan Piker. Like, it's a racism thing, too. Like, I think a lot of people actively hate him because it's, like, fucking racist shit, too. Like, that's my take. So, I really... Look, you don't have to like Hassan, whatever. But I like Hassan a lot. A real lot. If Hassan gets banned, it's fucking over for the rest of Twitch. I think the rest of Twitch left. I think people don't understand that, like, he is a load-bearing institution in Twitch. Like, in many ways. He actively draws people to the platform. He actively draws streamers that are similar to him to the platform. And if he gets banned, it's curtains for a lot of leftist political streamers because the precedent is set that, like, our rhetoric is no longer welcome. I could probably point to a few things I don't like or think he's wrong on, but balance, he's fine, although I generally stay away from political streamers. There's stuff, I've watched Hassan streams where I sit there, I'm like, I don't agree with this one, Hassan. Like, this is crazy. and stuff like that. But I think net average, he's a very smart guy, very clearly. For me, it's not just that like he says stuff that I think is very accurate, very true, very poignant, very it's also well articulated, like in a way where like someone who's not as politically well versed, it reaches them. It's the way he speaks about things, but it's also just the fact that you can tell he's very well read. This is not someone who is sitting on Twitter all day and gets his takes from like 5 leftist Twitter accounts. This is someone who's like actively doing research, reads, like is fucking like has an academic mindset in the sense of like he researches things, he studies things, he tries to understand things. And that more than anything is what I respect and admire a lot about Hassan. Of course, he's not 100% right all the time. He was wrong about Ukraine and Russia, like in a lot of ways. But what he's really good at is demonstrating that like you can be a Twitch streamer and your vibe doesn't have to be like, I'm just hearing this for the first time. Wow, this is quite a thing happening. That's crazy. Like that doesn't have to be your vibe, which is like that is like the Osmongold approach. That is like the fucking Rev says Desu approach. No, I'm not talking about support of Russia. I'm talking about the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. That's what I mean. He kind of didn't have a fully correct take on that. The invasion of Ukraine by Russia. That's the thing I mean. But also most people didn't. Like, save for like the very like American institutional critical kind of like heterodox Russian scholars like did. And that's it. Like, which is a very small amount of people. Just saying this is someone who didn't like Hassan after Waffle for his fandom. The Hassan hate is practically terminal line shit. His room certainly smells better than Osmongold's. It looks better. Yeah, that's what I mean. His take on Ukraine, just that was not good. No one's gonna be perfect, but I think like overall, especially on the things that he actively seeks out to discuss, like regularly, like Palestine, like Israel, he is clearly extremely well informed, and in general, he's well informed. I think he's like represents really well what the political punditry class in America should be like. Maybe not necessarily always in tone, colloquial nature, like maybe, you know, not repugnant in the sense of like their approach to topics in a way that's like can reach the average layperson. Like there's real value as well in the more stuffy political pundit. But his actual approach in terms of like how Hassan approaches researching topics very well and making an opinion from a leftist perspective after doing a significant amount of research, that stuff is actually a lost art among pundits. A lot of pundits just kind of like fire shit off after reading tweets these days. Like they've truly lost the plot. It's became entirely personal beef between content creators. It's been astroturfed. It's astroturfed from engagement baiting on all sorts of sites, including and especially Twitter. A lot of it is. Gotta head out soon. Have a good stream, Anna. Thank you, Beer. I actually am gonna wrap up here too because we're about to hit 3 hours, and I don't want to get too caught up. I don't want to get too caught up because I actually have some ASMR work I want to do today, and I have some work in general that I need to get to in order to keep the content mills going. So we're gonna wrap up here. Oh wait, a question I was gonna say for the Q&A portion of the last stream, where would be an appropriate place to ask? I'll go to Ploptopus. I think. Did you message me on Bluesky? I forget. I know someone did. I think it might have been you, but I forgot. I think for that stream, because there's stuff I didn't get to, I'm going to redo. Yeah, I did. Been meaning to message you actually back on Bluesky, so I'll tell you right here. I am going to complete that stream. When I do my next Sex Ed 101, we'll probably end with, start with wrapping up that lesson because there's some things I didn't get to. And we didn't do the Q&A, obviously. And then we will do the next Sex Ed 101 discussion that's not on Twitch. Like for the next non-Twitch Sex Ed 101, I'll open up to Q&A because I'd rather folks all have like this centralized opportunity to fire them off because I know a lot of folks were waiting for Q&As. So I'd rather have them in one centralized resource publicly published, and then I can also put like responses, you know, if there's like specific things I want to do notes for, I can share them as well when the VOD's uploaded. So that's me. That's my approach. But thank you for following up though. I meant to add that. I didn't get to discuss it before, and it kept slipping my mind because there's been so much going on. So yeah, no stick of the stick man today. We'll probably get to it next stream. We'll see if that one is like probably gonna be on when I schedule in for this the upcoming weekly stream. Will probably be like a gaming chill stream with a little bit of news tubing because we haven't done much of it.